Welcome back. This video is a compilation of my previous deep dive episodes, which can all individually be found on the channel. So if you haven't watched any of them, or you like to watch them all again back to back, here you go. Once again, we find ourselves at the Reddit Bureau of Investigation. My first post starts like this. My brother was kicked out and went missing over 10 years ago. My identical twin brother was gay. When our father found out about that, he gave him about an hour to pack his things and leave. We were 17. I remember because I was there. I was just sitting on the bed in our room when my brother grabbed his school backpack, threw all the books on the floor and packed some clothes and a toothbrush. I didn't even say anything to him. He walked through the door and I never saw him again. A few weeks later, we had CPS at our house, and our abuela took over custody of me and my younger siblings, and we reported my brother missing. Apparently, it was him who went to our teacher at school and told him about the situation in our home and how abusive our father was. But he didn't come back. I've been looking for him for the past 11 years. The last lead I had was from his friends he was around soon after he left. They were all junkies. Some of them were homeless. Apparently he was living in and out of motels as a prostitute and using, but I never actually managed to track him down. We barely talk about him, but when we do, my family refers to him as if he was dead, which is likely, but I don't want to believe that. This is really sad, but it's a good thing the CPS stepped in. If the OP's father was willing to kick out his son just because he was gay, then I can't imagine the home as being a loving environment. The user uploaded this post using a throwaway account on February 26th of 2023. Given the information provided, we can assume that their brother went missing around 2012 or 2013. When trying to look into the OP's post history, I found that the page had been suspended, but the OP's comments on their post were still visible, and Redditors would also provide some useful information. I'm so sorry to hear about your brother. There are several missing people Facebook groups, some that work closely with state police. It may be worth reaching out with your brother's story if you haven't already. I have to say, most have been great groups that do highlight those working in prostitution and with substance abuse background without judgment. This shouldn't happen to any child left to fend for themselves at 17. I hope one day you have answers. Typing in the ad, check police records. It's slim, but your brother may have been locked up, and you maybe can be the hand to help him when he gets out. If he's an addict, then his likelihood of being arrested is pretty high actually. As a sister of an addict, that would be my first thought. At some point he'd probably been arrested. It's more likely to find him through police records and tax records. Further down, the OP would provide more information on where he believes his brother could be. User overall_valuable2538 would ask, what city do you think he may be staying? The last time anyone saw him was in Miami. After that, he could have gone anywhere. User 8girl_who_codes would also join in. How long ago was that? A few months after he left home. Oh, so it was a very long time then. Please update if you can. Advice, ask for criminal records that he may have had in Miami. Ask in the shelters too. Maybe he stayed for a long time in Miami. Other Redditors would comment as well. And on March 18th of 2023, the OP provided us with an update on their missing brother. Unfortunately, I'm forced to post from a different account because the other one got suspended, and I hope it's alright to post an update. Firstly, I just wanted to thank everyone for the overwhelming amount of responses and support. I couldn't be more grateful, especially that I'm very close in getting in touch with my brother now. I was able to establish soon after he left home. He left the state and joined the military, and he was there for a few years. I got a hold of his current social media handles, and last night I was able to message him. I haven't heard back yet, but I think it's just a matter of time. I obviously can't tell exactly what his life looks like now, just from pictures on his Instagram, but it looked quite peaceful. He lives in the UK now, and I think he's married, and I hope I'm right in that I'm able to see him soon. This was a relieving post. Fortunately, the OP was able to find their brother. I tried to check the post history on this account, but it appears as if it was also suspended. Other commenters expressed their reliefs as well, and one user would ask, out of curiosity, would you be able to share how you found his trail? I hired a person to do some digging online, despite the fact that he's been using his nickname officially instead of his name, and has been living in another country. Not long after the update post, the OP would edit with another update. I spoke to my brother on the phone. I cannot even describe the feeling I got when I heard his voice. I never felt anything like that before. He didn't speak for a whole minute when I said it was me on the phone. He said he never tried to reach out because he was convinced we all hated him, and he didn't want to risk seeing our dad. He said he's doing well. He started university in London last year. He's studying fine arts. He's been clean for a few years. He's in therapy, but he said he can't start a day without a handful of pills, and I guess that's understandable considering what he's gone through. But it really seems like he's doing good now. despite his mental health issues and disabilities, and he's actually getting married soon to a man, and I couldn't be happier for him. I haven't told the rest of my siblings yet. My brother said he wants to fly here and see me and them, and his partner will come with him. It took me 2 whole days to process that, and I still feel that might have been a dream. And this last edit will leave us with a happy ending. Since the OP's account was suspended, I was unable to check for updates on how the possible reunion may have gone, although given the efforts, I'm sure it went well, and the two had a lot to catch up on. This story seems to be a repeat experience for many unfortunate people. May 4th, 2023, Reddit user Bubble Roxy went onto the RBI subreddit, concerned that her landlord might be stalking her and going through her things. Is my landlord stalking me? I'm renting a private room and private bathroom in a home with a family of 4. My room is a loft that has stairs directly outside my door that leads down to 3 doors: my bathroom, the garage, and their home. They told me the door to their home will be locked at all times, and the garage will be my private entrance. Backstory: this is my landlord's first time renting out a space in her house, so she's new to this. In the listing and viewing, she made it seem that even the staircase/hallway is private. I was so excited that the room, staircase, and bathroom was all private to me. No, during this time there was no door for my room, so right when you go upstairs you're automatically in. First time sleeping there, I left my place and locked both the side door and the garage door. I ended up getting locked out because the key to the side door is not the same as the garage door. She told me I should never lock the garage door, only the side door, because I need to use it as a pass-through to get to the garage. I was never made aware that this was going to be used as a pass-through prior to me signing the lease. I addressed that I'm uncomfortable because I thought that all of these areas were going to be private to me. I'm even more uncomfortable because I have no door to my room. For the first week, I slept with no door while they walked back and forth from their house to the garage, having no privacy. They can easily see me or just walk in if they wanted to. She ended up giving me a key to the garage door, but I never lock it because the one time I did lock it, I was in the restroom and I heard her yell to her daughter, "Why the fuck is this door locked?" I don't think she knew I was there. Next thing you know, I see them changing the locks to all their home doors. She stated there's a door that's in the wall. The door ended up not being functional. My dad had to fix it so it can actually slide and close. Once closed, there's a huge gap at the bottom, so no insulation or soundproofing. Another thing I was concerned about, I wanted a lock for my door. She said I could unlock the door because as the landlord, she needs to access my room, which I do understand, but I wanted some type of privacy and protection for my landlord. She ended up installing a swivel lock on my door which I can lock whenever I'm sleeping, but not when I leave the premise. Other things, when I come home, I would sometimes see my door slightly open, half open, etc. I feel like someone is accessing my room. This is the same with my bathroom door which I always close. She never told me she had cameras pointing directly at the side door and also outside the garage door when I moved in. She got upset with me because I would come in and out of the house in the middle of the night multiple times, and asked why I keep coming in and out because she sees it in the camera. My overhead light broke one time, told her about it, and I said please don't come into my room until I get home. She said, "Oops, I already fixed it." So she went into my room without my permission. I go up and down the stairs. Moments later, I hear someone open the door downstairs, turn on the hallway light for a second, turn it off, and go back into the house. Like they don't know there's a person living here. I hate how they check up on me. I just don't understand why she can protect herself and her family, but I cannot equally protect myself. She changed the locks to her doors. She has these cameras without disclosing, but I can't have my own door or a real lock, and I only have the side door as my door I can lock. If someone were to break into the house, my room would be the first target. Security is the least you can do for a tenant. I had to sleep in a stranger's home without a door for a week, as a young woman, and they thought this was okay. I always stress that I am a very private person. I was thinking about putting a camera in my room. Is it illegal to put a small camera right outside my sliding door that's in the hallway? I just want to ensure that my landlord isn't going into my room and see why they're constantly checking up on me. I just need advice on this whole landlord situation. It really seems like every other day we find another story of a landlord abusing their power. A user by the name Here Fishy Fishy would comment under the post. First of all, she said she couldn't lock the door because she's a landlord and needs access to your room. Why? She doesn't need access to your room randomly. Unless it's an actual emergency, she has absolutely no business in your room without prior notice, and after you give her time and permission. In some states, she doesn't even have the right to have a key to your door. Anyways, enforce your rights, all of them. Find out your tenant rights in your state, and then that's that. Don't feel bad or obligated. Especially us women play this BS game of being insecure about these things, basically making ourselves miserable for no reason. You're a legal tenant, you pay rent, so this is your home. She does have rights as a landlord, but as long as you pay on time and there's no emergency, hers are pretty limited. Please take responsibility for your well-being. Know your rights and let her know too. Other Redditors also stated that in many leases, a landlord is legally obligated to give notice before entering a renter's home. In a later reply to Hear Fishy, the OP would state that they're in California. A quick Google search revealed the landlord must give you a 24-hour advance written notice before entering. The notice should state a specific time of entry, which must be during normal business hours. The OP's reply would provide more context into the situation. She said in case of an emergency, I honestly think she's trying to treat me like her daughters, like trying to get me included with her family. Don't get me wrong, she's also very nice. She bought me brand new appliances in my room that cost over $1,000 prior to moving in. Even bought me a new dresser, and makes me baked goods. But yeah, she can be a bit weird. This may or may not mean anything, but she is a recovered alcoholic of 10 years. Ever since the time she fixed my light, nothing weird has happened. The only thing is them checking up on me still. Like, why are they checking up on me? When they open the door to do the pass-through, there's nothing but my stairs and those 2 closed doors. Unless they go into the garage, there's no reason for them to check there unless they're curious about me. Other than that, no more moved doors. I'm still going to install a camera, but thank you for this response. You're right, I need to stand up for myself. I'm usually good at this, but recently I haven't been. Along with other things in my life going south, I'm trying to navigate ways to deal with first. In the beginning, I was super stern about the hallway situation because I was so damn bummed that it wasn't private. Like, how are you gonna make this pass through when there's no door? Like what? Also, I live in Cali. A user by the name Historical Panic 465 commented this. Believe it or not, in California, an owner who lives within the house is allowed to enter the room you are renting at any time of day or night, for any reason. However, the homeowner cannot harass you or take your possessions. You are technically not a regular tenant, but rather would be known as a lodger. Pretty much the main law when entering a room within a household would be the habitability law. This means that the owner is responsible for making sure the unit does not have any defects that would make the unit unfit for a human being to live there. Sadly, this law does not require them to provide you a bedroom door, or any locking doors besides the main doors that lead into the house. I would suggest finding somewhere else to live if you feel uncomfortable, because you pretty much lose a lot of rights that a regular renter would have, and will most certainly lose this argument. Or, if you're getting a good deal to live there, then just accept it and have a talk with the owner to ask for better privacy. There's nothing wrong with having a conversation about issues you're having. To me, it honestly seems like a harmless family who is slightly inexperienced, possibly even unprepared on how to properly rent a room / follow their own terms, or how to make tenants feel comfortable and happy. You should definitely bring up the fact that they made you feel that the stairwell, bathroom, and bedroom would be more private than it currently is. At the very least, you should be able to properly lock the door in your bedroom. As for the security camera, the owner can place a camera wherever she wants as long as it's not in the bedroom or bathroom. It should be fine for you to put a security camera in your room that you rent, but it's not okay to capture video of common areas that include other residents. I'm not exactly sure that pointing a camera in the stairwell would be a good idea for you, and will only stir things up. Honestly, I would say that it should be perfectly fine to put it inside your room. If you can show your actual contract, of course blur out any personal info, I'd be able to help a lot more. I also live in Cali, and have had all sorts of living arrangements and agreements. After this, the OP did state that they purchased the camera. She would also state that the landlord was leaving her alone after she got upset at her for entering the room. User Broken Botox would say, "Get out of there. This seems sketchy and illegal as fuck. You should feel comfortable and secure in your own home." I know. Ever since the day she went into my room without my permission, they've been leaving me alone. Right when she said she already fixed the light, I went straight into the house. I was just pissed. She looked like she felt sorry. Despite the encounter, it seems as though the OP's landlord would go back to their old habits, because after about 3 days, Boba Roxy would provide another update. Put a camera, caught her daughter entering my room. I'm building a table, asked if I can borrow their drone. I put it back where it was, which I did. I left work around 6 p.m., saw her open my door and look around at about 6:20 p.m. She looked straight into the camera when she was closing the door. Next thing you know, she texted me at 6:40, asking if I need help with whatever I'm building. Looked over the film. I did not hear her knock or call my name before coming in. She probably saw my car gone and thought it was a go to enter my room. Here Fishy Fishy would reply under the update. I read your other comment where you said she wants to include you in her family or something, and she's also nice, which I think is BS. She takes your money and just doesn't have a sense of boundaries. And so of course neither does her daughter. You need to decide if you want to be her friend who she takes money from who lets her crash at her house, or if you want your place that you pay for to be private. And then either way accept her behavior or act accordingly by enforcing all legal rules at your disposal. You can't have both. Sorry, I don't mean this in a harsh way, but it's really up to you. And for now, that's all we have to go off of. Given that this post and situation are so new, there are no further updates or any posts relating to what the OP plans on doing. Although now that they have video evidence, if they do decide to take a legal route, I hope they're able to use it to their advantage. This next post comes from the user Haunted Willow and was uploaded on January 11th of 2023. My brother visits a few times every year. Invariably, the houseplants start to die whenever he's around. I only have one bathroom and multiple roommates. My brother's complained about this in the past and joked about peeing in my plant. For context, my brother visits 1 to 2 weeks at a time. He's visited 4 or 5 times in the past 3 years, and each time a plant is wilted and went off color. Any advice for testing or something? Or could this be a different problem? Despite this situation sounding like an obvious prank, the OP seemed concerned, and commenters were quick to offer advice. Get a clear plastic plant saucer, remove some of the topsoil of the houseplant, and hide the liner under the soil. If you really want to mess with them, you can also hide a battery-powered water leak alarm in there. Those suckers are loud. You can get one for like $10. I like that idea. I'm worried that my roommate might water the plant. I could tell everyone not to. I don't think anyone's happy with the situation, so maybe it wouldn't be weird to work together. Lots of good ideas from everyone. I'll probably try at least 2 of them when my brother visits this month. Further down, a user by the name of NatMe will talk about their childhood experience peeing in plants. When I was a kid, I used to pee in a plant because I was too lazy to go to the bathroom. I thought pee is just water, and water's good for plants, so whatever. Eventually my parents did discover the smell, which surprisingly took a few times of me peeing in the soil. Unfortunately, they blamed my grandmother for overwatering the plant or something, because she used to babysit me occasionally at the time. Still feel guilty about that part. This seemed to be a likely answer. If the OP's brother is just too lazy, he might just find it easier to pee inside the plant, rather than walking all the way to the bathroom. While gross, it's definitely something I could see a young guy doing, especially after a few drinks. After almost 2 weeks, the OP's brother would visit again, and the following morning we got an update. I hope updates are allowed here. I've gotten some questions about what ended up happening. My brother only visited yesterday, so until now I didn't have anything new to say. I ended up buying a relatively cheap water alarm, like Grim SB suggested. I made sure to tell my roommates not to water the plants. I placed it in the soil and covered it just slightly. At about 3 in the morning, I woke up to a shrill beeping, sort of like when a fire detector runs out of batteries. I had been half expecting this, so I ran out into the hall and turned on the light. My brother had flinched and gotten urine on the floor. I caught him pants down and 2 of my roommates came out to see what was going on too. My brother's horrified expression made cleaning out the pee and fishing at the alarm worth it. Thing is, no one was using the bathroom at 3 in the morning, so I know this was out of spite. They left at around 8 and my parents called sort of upset, but I told them about what happened and they didn't really know what to say. My roommates abandoned from the house, so I told my family this and they can't argue. Thank you for all the help. It seems like the leak alarms were perfect, and the OP was finally able to catch her brother in the act. In a final edit on the update, the OP would say this. So my brother stormed out at 8 in the morning and went to my parents since he lives with them. He couldn't tell them why he was back so soon, so my parents called angry and I told them what happened. They were more or less speechless, and by then my roommates had officially banned my brother, so there wasn't much to discuss. My mother called later and said that my brother claimed his actions were due to me not letting him use the bathroom, which was not the truth. He just needed to wait for it to be available, and it was empty at 3 a.m. Sibling things, I guess. And that's that. Hopefully the OP's plants are able to stay alive, now that their brother won't be peeing in them. One of the popular flares, or tags on the RBI sub, is Help Me Search. Redditors use this whenever they need help finding information, and this user needed help searching for information about their grandfather. 1946 Netherlands forces in the UK. Why is my grandfather's personal history an international secret? My grandfather served in the Dutch military forces in the UK. He died over 30 years ago. He signed up in 1946, and I have his ID card, military possession sheet, and a document from the UK, ordering him to go from London to The Hague via hook, complete the mission, and report back to London. There is one other name also on the order. It's signed by the attaché to the Dutch forces in the UK. The letters typed in red ink, and then typed over in black X's. But I managed to decipher what's underneath. It's written in English. I have a hard copy paper trail of his location at intervals between 1940 and up to his departure from the Netherlands in 1952. When the war started, he worked for the Ministry of Agriculture and, as all were, was forced to work for the new German government. However, he secretly did not comply. We know he was in an underground movement, and we know he dealt with more than one person. Edit. We know he forged documents for individuals and farmers so that they or their stock would not be taken by the government. This is not hearsay. We have evidence of it. About a week after the war ended, he was sent to locate somebody in the Netherlands from Zeiss. 3 weeks later, he has a letter from the police arresting to his good character. as he was wounded and in the hospital. Not injured, but wounded. And then of course came the military in 1946. His immigration record in Australia is restricted for A. Personal safety, B. International relations, or C. To protect Australia's defense and national security. The FOI request is in the works in the AU, but it seems unlikely they'll release it. The Dutch Ministry of Defense tell me that he was never in the military. I have plenty of evidence he was. Searching his military number yields no results in Dutch databases. The Dutch Military Records Department tell me that he went to the East Indies. I know for a fact he did not. I have evidence he was in the UK and Netherlands, when they say he wasn't. I don't think I'll ever truly know, but I'd like to make an educated guess. Whatever it was, it remains a secret. As always, Redditors took to the comments. He signed up in 1946, and I have his ID card, military possession sheets, and a document from the UK, ordering him to go from London to The Hague via hook, complete the mission and report back to London. Doesn't this imply he was part of the UK armed forces? The Dutch set up a military from the UK when Germany invaded. 46 is after the war. Remember what happens in 1939 through 40. The Dutch government is run from London, and the Queen has to help remove the Prime Minister in exile in London, who wants to return to the occupied Netherlands and start a Vichy collaboration government. In 46, the first post-war elections are held. I wonder if he was working with the Allies or Queen in conjunction with these elections. The former Prime Minister hadn't been brought to trial yet. I suspect there were plenty of folk running around post-war Netherlands who were seen as undesirables. It was a very fluid political situation in 46. A bit of a disclaimer, I'm no history buff, but this commenter seemed to know what he was talking about. I did do some Google searching to fact check him, and from what I could tell, the information he gave was accurate. In a later edit, the OP would provide more information on their grandfather. We found he had written inside a book, Lance Corporal, name omitted, Christmas 1944, military number, Expeditionaire, Force Prince Bernard Brigade. I take that with a grain of salt, because we don't know when he wrote it, but the ID number he wrote is the same as the military evidence we have. The letter dated February 18, 1946 I have, is signed by GOC David Van Voorst Eefkink, who've been commanding the officer of Brigade Princess Irene from 1941 to 1945, at which point he became the military attaché to the UK during the time frame I'm concerned with. Exact words of the letter. The above document is signed by D. Van Voorst Eefkink, General Commanding Officer of the Netherlands Forces in the UK, 2 people to fly from London to Hook by plane, and then by train to The Hague, names omitted. The above has to return to the United Kingdom upon completion of the mission, and he must report in person to the HQ GOC Netherlands Forces in the UK, X Branch, immediately upon his return. Stamped, Con Ned, Landmacht Section, Expeditionary Force Royal Netherlands Army. What is X Branch? 1948 Military Identity Card. This is the most confusing. Stamp Royal Netherlands Army Expeditionary Force. Same number as others, listed as a volunteer. I understand that this suggests having gone to Southeast Asia, but as I said, he most definitely did not. The most logical answer is that he was planning on going but didn't. Thank goodness, because he had a wife and 2 kids by this stage. We also have a number of work and character references for him in the Netherlands from 1948 onwards. After this, there is no further evidence of any military activity. Can anyone point me towards what the Dutch forces were doing in the UK after the war? Why they be sent back home to complete a mission, then to return to London? Any ideas where I might look? Despite my believing, I've looked everywhere. A user by the name of Haspies would comment this. He could have been involved with rounding up the fugitive Nazis, possible Dutch ex-SS men. My father was in British military intelligence at that time, and later in life would occasionally allude to both official and unofficial operations of this sort. To which the OP would reply with, "That's something we've considered as a strong possibility, but there's no evidence of it. I have no idea how or where to find out, without going directly to The Hague. The only hits on his name in the search in any Dutch archive aren't military related, but are restricted and viewable in person only." This post had the history-loving Redditors in a frenzy. Fortunately, the OP wouldn't keep them waiting for too long. About 2 months after the original post, the OP would come back to the RBI sub with an update providing key information on their grandfather. In regard to the resistance, I found evidence that my grandfather was present at the execution of 9 Nazi collaborators on April 14th of 1945. He worked alongside the Canadians in liberating Friesland and was active in the Battle of Groningen. The classified letter turned out to be a non-event. Someone in the Netherlands Army was able to access a very basic military history, and he was simply returning to the Netherlands from the UK, and was discharged a few months later. This person has also helped me with his knowledge of the resistance and the formation of the army. The force he was in was indeed training to go to the Dutch East Indies. However, it seems my grandfather wasn't keen on an imperial war and opted for medical discharge. Apparently many men signed up to serve in case the war wasn't truly over, discovered they'd be off to the Dutch East Indies, and changed their minds. However, the regiment he was in was made up of Dutch underground forces under Prince Bernard at the end of 1945. While we are still searching for his whereabouts between 1942 and 1944, what I have supports him being active in a highly organized resistance movement prior to joining the army. The biggest update is that today, Australia Day, the Australian National Archives responded to my FOI and released some of my family's immigration records. However, some of his is still being withheld and will probably remain so forever. This is because my grandfather was either an agent or a source of ASIO, most likely the latter, Australia's CIA, or MI6 for those who don't know, and his records would reveal tactical and operational information that is still in use by the ASIO today. Release of such information would be reasonably expected to damage the security of the Commonwealth. This was not what I was expecting. At first I thought I might have something to do with the East Indies, but he was only in the official army for 6 months and wouldn't have anything worthy of ASIO. Second theory is underground tactics of some kind during World War II. One of his Australian documents lists his occupation in the Netherlands as an interpreter, which has never appeared anywhere before. He spoke Dutch, German, and English. I'm yet to pick apart the documents they did send in detail. They have mostly immigration and citizenship forms, and yet to find out the mysterious gap in the 1940s. On another note, I discovered 96 years of my grandmother's memoirs. That's been a whole different emotional journey. Her family hid Jewish people in a secret compartment of their hay bales in Smelde. Wow, these people were legends. And with that, the Redditor was able to get some answers about their grandfather. Although they may never get the full story, they did learn that their grandpa not only served in the army, but was most likely in secret operations during one of history's biggest events. I wanted to explore some more posts. The first one comes from the RBI subreddit and was uploaded by user Doing OK on March 16th of 2022. Buckle up, this is a weird one. Since me and my husband have moved into our apartment 8 months ago, I've been finding random blood splattering on the walls, cabinets, and floors around our toilets, and once even on our bathroom mirror. There's usually tiny droplets, but sometimes they get smeared on the walls or floor. I assumed they were fresh or wet. I know that the first suspect would be menstruation blood. However, I have not had a period in 2 years thanks to my birth control. I first noticed it about 3 or 4 months ago. I've asked my husband about it, and the first few times he would tell me that he had no clue where it came from or how it got there. But after I would clean it up and new ones would appear, I kept on asking him again and again. Eventually, he told me that sometimes when he blows his nose bleeds, and it could be from that. I partially accepted the answer. However, I can't recall a single time where I've blown my nose and missed the tissue so much that my snot sprayed all around me. Also, I mentioned to him that your nose is not supposed to bleed when you blow it, and maybe he should see an ENT to see what's up, but he refuses and says it's fine. So the cycle continues. I clean up blood droplets, and they reappear around our toilets in a matter of days. When I mention them, he gets frustrated and short with me, and doesn't want to talk about it. He's doubled down on the it's from blowing my nose thing, but I still can't imagine how. 1, he blows his nose so terribly that he sprays snotty blood in every direction, and 2, his nose bleeds every day, and he's not concerned about it. I recently asked him if his nose has always done that. I previously dated someone with a thin nose lining, and they once got a massive nosebleed from me doing the got your nose thing, so I know it's possible. But he said no, he doesn't think it's been like that always, and he pressured me to stop the conversation. Also, I would never find blood in our previous house bathrooms, and we lived there for 4 years. I'll add that we have a regular sex life, and I've seen basically every inch of him, and there's no sign of any cuts or trauma anywhere. I'm sick of cleaning up blood, and I'm also repulsed by the idea that he doesn't know how to blow his nose without spraying bloody mucus everywhere. I'm also very concerned for him if he really has new nosebleeds every day, as a friend from high school had this happen, and he ignored it, and it ended up being cancer in his sinus cavities. So here I am, asking Reddit, what the heck is going on? Is he lying to me? Is it really his nose? If so, why is he suddenly bleeding every day? Why is he so defensive about it? What's going on? The first reply I found was from the user Zen Ren. This one's a little out there, but when we bought our house in Arizona, I started noticing little spots of what looked like blood on the walls and ceiling. I eventually figured out that we had a particular kind of moth that would get into the house and leave big red spots of poop everywhere. It looks just like blood, and I've seen some as big as a 1/4 inch diameter. It was especially common in the bathrooms because of the nightlight we leave on in there. User Ebola Shuffle would also back Zen up with their own experience. I'm going to second this. I had a fruit fly explosion in my house, and they definitely leave little spots on the walls, and it is slightly reddish brown in color. Bedbugs basically poop blood too. Looking for red dots is one of the ways to tell if you have them. Not suggesting the OP has bedbugs, just more examples that insect poop can look like blood. Right off the bat, this sounds like it could be the possible answer. However, other users would have different theories. Check for track marks. It could be doping. Blood in weird places is common with this. They can be easy to miss. If not, nosebleeds can be made worse by snorting stuff too. First thing I thought of were coke nosebleeds. Same. When I got sober, I realized there were squirts of blood from my syringes everywhere, even the ceiling. And me. I used to have bleach spots on everything, from cleaning needles out in the earlier days of my addiction. And these drug theories would go on for some time, but the OP would eventually address them in a later edit. Edit to answer some frequently asked questions. Yes, we have pets, but the blood shows up only in bathrooms, including in the guest suite, where the pets are not allowed ever. Those rooms are closed off. No blood anywhere where the pets are allowed. I am in control of the finances, and there's no money missing ever. Both our direct deposits go into our joint account. He has a credit card, but the only checking account he has is our joint one. He does have hemorrhoids, but so do I, and I've never gotten blood anywhere but the toilet. He gets medical anxiety, and this could be why he is defensive, because he should probably see a doctor. He told me that when he goes to the bathroom at night, he doesn't turn any lights on, so he doesn't wake me, and when he blows his nose, he doesn't see the blood since it's dark. He does have pretty bad allergies. He's had no behavioral changes since this started. Also adding a comment I made. For those suggesting drugs, I am not dismissing you. I'm getting shamed for ignoring the comments suggesting it's drugs, but I'm still absorbing the possibility that it might be, and I need time. I also can't just willy-nilly accuse my husband of doing drugs without hard evidence, because if I did and he isn't doing drugs, then that'll put a huge strain on our relationship. If my husband accused me of shooting up in my spare time without evidence, I would be pissed. Again, I'm not ignoring you or dismissing your theories. I'm just taking my time because this is a shocking thing, and I need to process the possibility. So if he were hiding drugs in our tiny apartment, where should I look? I've checked inside the toilets. I pulled apart every drawer. Our ceilings are too high for either of us to reach. If you have experience with addiction or living with someone with addiction, please guide me to finding more evidence. And for over 2 months, the theories under this post will continue to grow. But on May 27th, the OP would finally provide us with a conclusion to the blood splatter mystery. An update some, probably very few, have been waiting for. We solved the case of the bloody bathroom. I know that there will inevitably be some users who truly believe my husband is discreetly hiding a drug problem, despite this update, and harass me about it. So I will no longer be using this account after it's posted. To preface, I received about 10 DMs that offered to send pictures of what their or loved ones' blood evidence of shooting up or snorting looked like, and I was thankful that literally none of it looked like what I was finding. Those photos, the lack of gap in our finances, no history of unexplainable personality changes, as well as the fact that I cleaned and searched every inch of our 800 square foot apartment and found nothing suspicious, solidified my conclusion that it wasn't drugs. I am pleased to announce that my husband is just gross. Before I continue, I'd like to thank those who sent me photos and personal anecdotes of their or their loved ones' drug use, and I wish you all peace and good health in your lives. So obviously it's been a few months since my post. In that time I was harassing my DMs with people calling me ignorant, some suggesting that I divorced my husband based on the wild possibility that he might be using hard drugs. Firstly, if my husband had a drug problem, I wouldn't leave him. I'd want to help him. I love him. And addiction is a disease and he would need support. But alas, I found myself searching dark corners of cabinets and furniture crevices for secret drug hiding spots and found nothing. I sat him down for yet another conversation about the blood, and he reassured me he was having nighttime nosebleeds, and promised that he would turn on the lights from then on to make sure he cleaned it up because I did not deserve the burden of doing it for him. He lived up to his promise, and after the conversation I noticed he was turning the light on when he went to blow his nose at night, and the blood drops stopped appearing. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago, I was on Instagram and came across a reel that was titled, "Signs You're Using Your Nasal Spray Wrong." The very first sign was new and unrelenting nosebleeds. The metaphorical light bulb over my head illuminated. As I remembered that since we moved to a new part of the state, my husband's allergies had been worse, and he started taking Flonase to control it. The time of the blood appearing was about a week and a half after he started taking the nasal spray. I know this because he uses my prescription. Ever since Flonase came out with a pill version that I like better. As soon as he came home, I showed him the video I saw, which also demonstrated how to properly use nasal sprays. You have to tilt it, not shoot it straight up. He took a week off the Flonase to reset his sinuses, and last week he started using it again, the correct way. And holy cow, he stopped snoring, his voice sounds different, his nose stopped whistling, and thank the Lord he stopped having midnight nosebleeds. No more blood, but also no more paranoia on my part, and he can probably breathe out of his nose for the first time we moved here. You may be wondering why he didn't see a doctor when the nosebleed started. It's because we were poor, and he has medical anxiety. But yeah, case solved. And as stated in the top comment of this update, aha, so it was a drug problem. The problem being that he wasn't using it correctly. It seems as though the drug theories under the original post were correct. Well, sorta. Our next post comes from the user Ace of Hades and was uploaded onto the RBI sub on December 14th of 2020. Unknown Venus device somewhere in my apartment. We're being stalked or recorded. Need advice on what it could be. Strange occurrences I need to find some sort of reasoning or explanation for. I don't know if all of these instances are related or connected somehow, but these are just some things that stood out to me. Are we potentially being stalked or recorded by someone in our apartment? I'm the kind of person that loves creepy stories of stalkers, ghosts, murderer encounters, and so on. And because of this interest, it makes me have a pretty bleak view of humanity, and always makes me think that people are generally horrible and always up to something, which makes me always be prepared to defend myself or loved ones. Maybe because I read all these stories that I'm looking for it. So maybe I'm just quick to think that something sinister is going on, when it may just be something harmless. I'll let you decide. Anyways, I'm a college student and I basically live in 2 apartments. I stay in my brother's apartment a lot, but I mostly stay at my own apartment that I share. I live with my brother's friend who is a pretty attractive girl, who is basically a pixie fairy, which as a guy, an older men love to drool over. So I always worry that since she's not as vigilant as me, and really weak, that she would be an easy target for a stalker or creep, which there have been some weird suitors in the past couple of years, but nothing like stalking. So today we got a Christmas tree for the apartment, and we were just chilling in the living room when we hear a sound from a device in the kitchen, which is like 2 feet away in the next room, make a swooshing sound, and then an Alexa-type male voice recording saying the word, Venus. It sounded as if the device was turning on or off, or something like that. We both look at each other and say what the fuck made that sound. She kinda chuckled and said, did it just say penis? But I heard Venus. I go over there and see if some of our phones were over there, but there wasn't any mobile devices or speakers in the kitchen. I go back in the living room, and we check our phones to see if one of us got a message on one of our phones, but neither of us did. She asked me if I was fucking with her, but I was going to ask her the same thing. This kind of freaked her out, and with my paranoia I immediately think if it could be some sort of recording device or something to spy on her, because I'm not there a lot. And I was actually about to leave too. The only devices in the kitchen are the Cosori air fryer, the microwave, oven, and the Veckin water fountain for the cats. I searched on the internet about anything that could have made that sound and said Venus, or even penis, but nothing useful showed up. It's exam week and I usually go study at my brother's apartment, so I had to leave, and I didn't want to freak her out with my conspiracy theories, but I did. As I was driving to my brother's, I was thinking about it and remembered that about 2 weeks ago, we were talking in her room for a second when we both hear vibrating from a phone. I said someone's calling you, but she had nothing on her phone. I even looked in mine and there wasn't anything on there too, but the buzzing was still going on. They are upstairs neighbors, but they're only short-term Airbnb guests. The phone sounded like it was in our apartment, but I couldn't pinpoint where. It wasn't just from upstairs, because we usually hear faint footsteps, loud bangs, or yelling and such, because they are old New Orleans wood floors, but would not be able to hear a phone buzzing that clearly, even if it was laying bare on the wood floor above us. In my research, the only thing I could come up with that could have possibly made the Venus noise was maybe an LG Venus phone turning on. It's a burner phone that actually has a decent camera, but still shitty. When you turn it on, it makes a swooshing sound that may be similar to the swooshing sound recording we heard, but I don't remember it specifically. The only thing is I haven't found a video of the phone turning on and making the swooshing noise and then saying Venus. Maybe it says it in the new update for the phone, but I don't know. The only thing I could come up with, which could be potentially terrifying, is that there is a cell phone turning on in our apartment that we've been living in for 5 months. Neither of us own an extra phone, especially a burner. I need to know what it could be. One last weird occurrence in this apartment was when I was about to leave, I heard a weird noise come from the upstairs apartment, as if somebody dropped a bowling ball on a slanted wood floor, causing it to bounce and then roll. I just brushed it off as it was probably just some Airbnb guests making their usual stomps and bangs from upstairs, but I didn't know that there were any guests staying that day, because it was 7 p.m. and I hadn't heard any noises besides that all day, not even footsteps. As I was driving off, for some reason on that night I was curious if there were even any guests staying at the moment. I decided to just drive around the perimeter of the apartment and noticed that all the second floor's lights were completely off, as if nobody was home at all, which was kinda weird, because what made that noise a couple minutes ago? Understandably, the OP seems freaked out by these experiences, and one user would provide a solid theory as to what could be going on. Okay, so I completely understand if this isn't very convincing to you, but please take this into consideration. From a fellow paranoia-prone, true crime conspiracy type junkie. But upon reading your post, I feel quite certain I know the answer, as I experience this exact same phenomenon currently. I live in a 1950s house, and for some odd reason, only in one particular spot in my basement, I could hear someone's phone vibrating upstairs in the room directly above, so loud and clear that it actually freaked me out and froze me dead in my tracks the first couple of times. I noticed this in the recent months, and the most bizarre part is, no other sound, whether it be speaking voices, the TV, or etc., travels even remotely as much as phone vibrating specifically does. For reference, the floors are carpet over hardwood, and there's solid knotty pine wall panels in the basement. Not sure if this could be contributing to the sound carrying, but I recall mention of an older structure and wood flooring in your situation as well. I bet money you were indeed hearing a phone vibrating upstairs, despite very possibly not hearing other types of sound carrying nearly as much, or at all, because I've concluded this to be the case for me. However, if you're hearing this vibrating and Venus sound continue when the unit in question is seemingly unoccupied, to the best of your knowledge, then I'm not so sure my theory holds up for your situation. As in my situation, the phones have to be nearly directly above me for this to occur. The other unexplainable loud thump could be easily explained away by numerous random things, but I totally understand how that can seem notable and worth making a mental note of, given the other recent happenings you've experienced. That, I personally wouldn't worry about, unless it becomes a continued unexplainable concern or disturbance. I hope my thoughts gave you something to consider. I hope you find some answers and peace of mind to whatever it is that's going on, and my apologies in advance if I just wrote this wild text, only for others to have beat me to posting the same thing. Didn't have time to scan all the comments before typing away. This comment would get a reply from Ace of Hades, and a conversation between Ace and other Redditors would also begin. No, this was helpful. Obviously, I believe that all these instances are separate, but since these are things that have stuck out to me recently, I left it up to y'all to let me know what y'all thought on the situation, and how these things can be explained without saying someone is living in my walls. I'd prefer not to think that, but if that drives me to dig deeper on this issue, I will. Do you think it's possible that the prior renters of the Airbnb left a phone, and it's just in the right spot to echo into your apartment? Maybe they left it on accident, and it wasn't worth going back for, being a prepaid burner, or even on purpose if it was a burner involved in a cheating partner situation or something. Maybe, but I wouldn't hear the Venus thing from a phone being upstairs. I'd probably hear the buzzing if it's in the right spot. In a later edit though, P would provide a small update, but unfortunately it still didn't have an answer to what could be happening. Update 1. So it also just dawned on me that all these occurrences only happened at night, right before I was trying to, or about to leave the apartment. Every single instance involved me in some way telling her that I'm about to head out for the night. Just another detail I just thought of. Could be coincidental. This revelation could imply that somebody is stalking the OP and their roommate, choosing to spy on the girl whenever Ace is gone. But despite Ace being a very active Redditor, we did not get a full update for about half a year, although rather than provide answers, Ace's update post would only raise more questions. Venus Noise possible stalker update. Found something disturbing that is messing with my head. Hi everyone. So I posted a while back in December trying to identify some strange things that have been happening in my friend and I's apartment. You can view the original post here. So since my last post I have done a few things. I searched every crack and crevice in the apartment and came up with nothing on anything out of the ordinary. I purchased a hidden camera/bug detector and searched throughout the house and didn't come up with anything. I sleep within reach of not one, but 2 guns in 2 different rooms, just in case something were to happen. Now we were presented with a wait and see what happens kind of situation, and then acting accordingly from there. For the past month or so, everything seemed to be fine, nothing out of the ordinary, and eventually forgot about the whole thing in general. Then, we started hearing a weird noise outside that kind of sounded like an intermittent buzzing or hum towards the back of the house where the bathroom window is located. Houses make weird noises all the time, so I told my friend not to worry about it because there's nothing in that little alleyway on the side of the house besides overgrown plants and an air conditioning unit. A couple days later, I was smoking a cigarette at night when I started thinking about what it could have been. So I go around the house to check it out. When I turned the corner, I saw a metal bench that wasn't there a couple weeks ago around the time I made the first post and checked the house inside and out. A bench is no big deal, especially when you're renting a house. The owner is gonna have some shit without you knowing. The thing that weirded me out was where it was placed. When there are a ton of places it could have been put, it was intentionally put right up against the raised house, right under our bathroom window. I took a picture of it because something about it rubbed me the wrong way. Here you can see the picture of the bench. The thing that weirded me out is that when a grown man like me stands on it, you're at the perfect height to try and sneak a peek through the tiny cracks in the bathroom window's old curtain. When I could see through the cracks, I felt a knot in my stomach. Both of us get a strange feeling whenever showering or using the toilet, as if being fully exposed. I don't know if that's why, but it could explain some of those feelings. I immediately sent a pic to our landlord, and they said they don't own that bench, so it must have been left from the previous tenants. I knew that wasn't the case, because the bench wasn't there in December when I did a whole sweep of the house. This really creeped me the fuck out. Who was going back there? And how did somebody place a whole bench without us even knowing? We literally never go back there. My roommate has never even seen the side of the house, because there's nothing of any interest besides the air conditioning unit and a couple of windows. The night I took the pic of the bench, I then moved the bench away from the window and flipped it upside down, just to see what would happen, and checked back a week later and the bench is in the original place I found it, under the bathroom window again, right side up. Fuck that. As of a couple days ago, we immediately set up cameras on the exterior of the house. We covered the door, the whole front porch, and the driveway on the side of the house where our cars are. That also has eyes on the entrances to where the little back alleyway can be accessed. So we can now see if someone's walking back there at night, because the motion sensor floodlight that lights up the driveway does go off in the middle of the night on the most random things. I stay up late, so I only see it turn on, but I figured it was just squirrels, rats, or even just possums. But the alleyway can also be accessed from the street by jumping into the neighbor's yard, and then jumping the next door fence that separates us from our neighbors without being seen on camera. Now it's just another game of wait and see. I really fucking hope this is a weird coincidence, because this is just fucking strange. If there's actually a peeping Tom or stalker, or hopefully not something worse, then I'm grabbing my gun and going after this person myself. This is nerve-wracking, just waiting to see if the worst case scenario is going to play out. At this point, the tone that Ace of Hades uses towards the situation is noticeably changed. Contrary to the first post where he sounded more confused and curious, here, at least in my opinion, Ace sounds more aggressive and amped up. Understandably, of course. While we haven't necessarily confirmed that there is someone peeping on Ace and their roommate, the sudden appearance of that bench that is just a perfect height for someone to see into the window is terrifying. One user by the name of Randall the Rocket would provide some useful advice on how to deal with a possible peeping Tom. As someone who has caught a peeping Tom before, here are a few tips I can think of. 1. The problem won't just magically disappear. People that are prone to this type of behavior have low self-control and are possibly a loner. This allows them to almost get caught, i.e. flipping the bench is a red flag for them. However, their low self-control and loneliness will cause them to do it again, even after almost getting caught and looking over evidence that someone is trying to figure them out. These feelings are conflicting for the perpetrator, as they know the right thing to do is walk away. However, being attracted to the victim, they simply cannot. See How to Catch Predator videos. When the perpetrator is caught, look at the fear and regret in their eyes. These kind of people are generally lonely cowards. 2. This is probably someone who has unsuspicious access to your home. It's hard for someone who lives far away to pull off repeated attempts at voyeurisms. Try imagining pulling the crime off from the side. If the victim lives far away, they have to move through the entire neighborhood without suspicion. They would have to find a way to park the car or bike they use for transfer for an extended amount of time. In order to meet their goals, they could be hovering in that alley for hours, which is hard in a neighborhood in which they don't live and have no access to parking without other people getting suspicious of new vehicles around. Take that from a viewpoint of someone who has access with an excuse if they get caught. Your landlord, if challenged, can just say they were doing maintenance, or the neighbor can say they were just outside for a smoke. This gives the perpetrator plausible deniability if they're planning this out. 3. Don't let them know that you are looking for them until you've gathered evidence. I know it's on your mind right now, but it's not the time to go asking questions about benches. In my mind, you've already messed up by flipping the bench and mentioning it to the landlord. If the perpetrator is the landlord, now you have to depend on his inability to control himself to catch him now. This is going to be a hard pill to swallow, but if you let the perpetrator get wind that you are coming, there may not be sufficient evidence to convict them, which could lead to you being stalked and give them motives to do something more dangerous. I'm not trying to scare you, just trying to get you to some of the gravity behind the situation. Don't talk openly about what is happening. The perpetrator could be closer to you than you think. Remember, you're essentially hunting a human that's been hunting you. Are you acting more intelligently than they are? 4. Prepare for the results of your action. Are you going to try to catch/convict them or make them stop? Are you ready to go to court and face someone you may know? Do you want them to just stop? Or are you looking for a criminal conviction? Do you have money to find a new place to live? Can you stomach living next to a predator if they don't get convicted? Or are still in the area after the incident? I believe you have every right to make this stop. Just don't get your ducks in a row beforehand and know your goals. And 5, fight the fear. You're scared, but remember you have the advantage. If you're trying to make this stop, be loud. Make it obvious that they're not welcome. Yell it to attract attention to them. Be obvious. The perpetrator could make excuses, such as they couldn't have known that I was there, or they were outside by mere coincidence. Any excuse to justify coming back to re-offend you. They aren't trying to admit they were caught. The criminals always think that they are the smartest person in the situation and can't get caught. Okay, now we can cover things that make it hard for predators to move around your home. Hidden cameras. Get a hidden camera to cover the area. Just know that there could be a person stalking you and could be watching you put it up. Don't assume that you're smarter than your stalker. Your advantage is not having to hide. They sell hunting cameras for cheap that take pictures on motion detection. Be sneaky with your reconnaissance actions. Operational security is paramount to success. Animals. Dogs and cats have better senses than you do. If you're not a fan of owning a pet, find a stray cat. Feed it at night, pet it, and put a bell around its neck. You're doing good things for the cat, and also it's going to go up to whomever is around your home for pets and food, jingling that little bell. There's nothing more funny than having a fully grown man run from a little cute jingly bell cat to avoid suspicion. Dogs will sense the movements outside of your window and bark, especially little ones. Passive obstacles. Put piles of leaves/garden hoses or little things to trip on outside of your home. They are trying to be quiet. When on approach, they may accidentally step on a leaf pile, which is an unmistakable noise. When spooked, the person has to run from your home while trying to be quiet and avoiding obstacles, while not looking suspicious. All of that adds to the evidence for court you are trying to collect. And lighting. Light from a window at night makes it a one-way mirror. If you think someone is outside, it's definitely counterintuitive to shut off the light. I mean, it's what makes us feel safe. However, when you do, you will be able to see outside that window. You could get someone to bait them in and shut off the light and look outside. You can probably catch them if you're quick enough, but I realize this is scary for anyone. Get a motion or switch light that's brighter than your indoor light, which will reverse the refractivity of the window and make it easier to see someone standing there. This will deter the offender, and it also has plausible deniability. If there's a bench out there, you're just being nice to the person using it, so they don't have to smoke in the dark, of course. In conclusion, don't take my advice as legal counsel. Definitely alert the police at some point. I am not a lawyer, just another bored Redditor that is looking for a new community to join, and was suggested I come here. I want to help you in the community, and I apologize for the long workup. The OP did reply to this comment, seemingly taking the advice from this poster, but after some time, Ace of Hades would stop posting completely. Many Redditors would constantly check for updates, even now 2 years later, and upon checking myself, I could not find any activity from Ace anywhere. While many would call the story fake, there were a large number of comments expressing their concern for Ace, some even theorizing that Ace of Hades may have passed away. Whether or not this has something to do with the possible stalker is completely unknown. Well, what happened? I gotta know how this ends. The fact that the OP has been inactive for months is incredibly concerning to me. Hey, are you okay, OP? No need to update anything if you don't feel like it, but I hope you're at least okay. A lot of people are wondering the same thing. Best of luck out there. Hey, Ace of Hades, are you alive? A one-word answer would suffice. Just worried is all. Despite many more comments like these, the OP's account would remain silent. It's possible that this was all a fake story under a throwaway account, but personally I believe the story was legit. I don't know whether or not the OP is dead or alive, or if this situation, or something completely unrelated led to their untimely passing. Maybe the OP began a legal process and has been unable to speak on the situation, but it is eerie how they stopped posting right around the time they would have potentially confronted their peeper. Whatever it is, I hope Ace of Hades is okay. Get ready, because this rabbit hole is pretty deep. A Redditor by the name Drunk Priesthood went onto the Internet Mystery subreddit on November 10th of 2022. At the time of this recording, the post is about 7 months old. In their post, Drunk Priesthood talks about how they may have stumbled upon some kind of cult. These are his findings on the Religion of Light. Gada and the Religion of Light, a strange religious rabbit hole. Alright, so probably a year ago now, I stumbled onto something strange. I'm not even sure how much of it is a mystery, to be honest, but it's weird, and I thought this sub might be interested. I majored in religious studies in college. I learned about a religion called Manichaeism. Manichaeism was found a few centuries after Christianity and became popular along with the Silk Road. By most accounts, the religion ceased to exist some time ago, but I've heard from a few reputable sources that there may be 1 or 2 temples remaining in China somewhere. I decided to do some Googling at one point to see what I could find on any form of modern Manichaeism. That was when I stumbled on this website. The website Drunk Priesthood provided is fairly simple, and the welcome message reads like this. Welcome to the official website of the Central Manichaean Temple, which primarily represents the Manichaean faith in Iran. If you visited the site in previous years, you will have noticed a lot has changed. The site's main focus is on the Holy Gospel of the Blessed Prophet Mani. Manichaeans practice a monotheistic religion, revealed to the Holy Prophet Mani in 2nd century Babylonia, emphasizing the spiritual liberation of all humankind. Religious history is viewed by Manichaeans as a perpetual series of revelations to diverse people across the world. These revelations coming in the form of divine messages, who provide the pure teaching and the divine knowledge required to liberate the souls from the illusion of matter. These divine messengers are all facets of one author, who were sent by the Father of Greatness. Manichaeans look forward to the final and full revelation of the third messenger. The third messenger, also known as Gada, continually seeks to awaken souls and bring them to the kingdom of light, an eternal realm beyond the physical universe. Each divine messenger sent by the Father of Greatness brings the pure teaching of the one true God within the culture in which they manifest. The central message is, worship God who is outside time and creation, cultivate virtue, remove vice, and put aside worldly attachments. To me, this doesn't sound much different than many other religious sites, but the OP would provide their own analysis that would reveal some more information about this group. At the time, this webpage included a link at the bottom for an English section, alongside Spanish and Portuguese. Clicking it led to a site that looked very much like the Spanish section does now. Although since I don't speak Spanish, I can't say how similar the content was. I started to realize that this was some sort of revival group, and in no way a continuation of the original Manichaean church, as it claimed to be. Things just got stranger when over and over I saw references to people such as Gada, Brother Joseph, and Abbot Charles. I went back to the homepage linked above and read closer and found this. Recently, various spiritual communities affiliated with the Greater Manichaean Church merged as one. These included the Kingdom of Light Church in Indonesia and United States, Church of the Kingdom of Light in Iraq, Manichaean Orthodox Church in Iran, Old Order Manichaeans in Iran and the US, and a United Manichaean Church in Iraq, Iran, United States, and Uzbekistan. As far as I can tell, none of these organizations exist, and that was weird. I started Googling the names I found, especially Murisgata, as that name came up quite a bit. I found that Murisgata is supposedly the third messenger of the religion of light, which apparently comprises several religions including Manichaeism. Here's the Murisgata website. Among the religions that are supposedly associated with Mur is the Assembly of Mishkanim. This is their website. From now on, I will be calling Murisgata MI, and the Assembly of Mishkanim AOM. And again, we are led to a similar looking website to the first one we looked at, with what appears to be an image of Jesus Christ. I downloaded the image so I could reverse search it, and the JPEG was titled Savior, which I thought was something small to note. When I reverse searched the Savior picture, Google pulled up the image, as well as similar ones, which show that the original image could have been a picture of Jesus Christ being tempted by the devil. This site states that the Messiah they follow is Yeshua, which is Hebrew for Jesus, although they do not necessarily identify as a branch of Christianity. Their frequently asked questions section would also provide more insight into this. Questions about Buddhism, Christianity, the Torah, and Judaism are all asked, and like the OP said, it seems as though the AOM is not a sect of any of these religions, but rather comprised of a mixture of similar pillars of belief. The original post continues. It is more difficult to find reference of MI in this website, but check out this section and the frequently asked questions. Who is Mar Melchizedek? Sometimes referred to as Archangel Metatron, or as the Divine Messenger MI, is the earthly manifestation of the Father's Word. He appeared in the world on February 21st of 2012 in Nepal. He taught the communities of the religion of light for several years, revealing many things previously unknown to these religious communities. He paved the way for the current generation of believers. The AOM who follow Yeshua honor him in their obedience to the teacher of righteousness, in the form of Mar. An AOM member who cannot be obedient to Mar cannot be an AOM member in this area. The Divine Messenger appeared again by the name of MI, and as of the year of 2020, he began combining various spiritual communities within the religion of light under a single covenant, in fulfillment of a prophecy that has taken place in our own day. I googled the AOM to try to find out if it's any kind of genuine religious movement from any point in history, as the Manichaeans were. I did not find anything from reputable sources, but I did find this website. This website's design is very similar to the previous ones, and it's very possible the same web designer could have built each one. The website again is simple, and it does appear to be actively posting daily bread posts that offer daily prayers and quotes. But according to Drunk Priesthood, Thomasine Christianity was another religious sect that no longer exists. They used an old gospel which did not make it into the Bible, called the Gospel of Thomas, and to my knowledge were Gnostic in nature, as was Manichaeism. I have not found any reference to MI on this website. However, in several places it says that the Thomasine community is officially known as the AOM province of Mar Thama. We are a province of the AOM, so they must be affiliated with this MI character. Last but not least are the Jehovah Faithists. Faithists are another legitimate religious group, the one that still exists in its original form, and are believers in the WASPI Bible, which was supposedly revealed in the 1800s. I don't know much about it. The Jehovah Faithists are associated with the religion of light. Here's their website. But Drunk Priesthood would provide plenty more information. In the past, I found more things linking them to the religion of light and MI, but these sites are constantly changing. However, notice that each blog post is tagged with religion of light, among other things, and that they clearly state to be unaffiliated with any other faithist organizations. Note, while looking all over this one more time, I decided to look at Jehovah.org again, and was led to faithist.org, which is another website ran by the Jehovah Faithist. I found this, faithist.org/en/how are we organized. I decided to look up a few of the names mentioned, but only had to search one of them, that being MI, and was led to this page on the Thomasine website, thomasine.org/en/celestial message from MI. This solidifies the connection between the Faithist and the other religion of light organizations. What's strange though is this quote. In the United Covenant of Light, the core sacred text, or holy book, is the WASPE. In that single covenant, all other texts are to be considered as sacred devotional readings that helps a person continue walking on the holy path, but must be read in the light of the WASPE. Remember the above quote that in 2020, MI began combining various spiritual communities within the religion of light under a single covenant? I guess he's using the WASPE Bible as a single covenant's holy book, which is weird. Why use an old text from the 1800s and not his own writings? Now I'm left with two questions. Who the fuck is MI? And what is the purpose of all this? The most obvious answer to the second question would be to start a cult, and I don't know any cult that was started for any reason other than money, power, or delusions of grandeur. I'm just not so sure on this one though. MI has a couple books that I found for sale, but this is all far too convoluted to be some get-rich-quick book selling scheme. I suppose it could be asking for money from any followers, but several websites speak to how difficult it is to join their religion. Money is usually the motive in these sort of things. I'm just confused on to why it's so convoluted. The only thing I found online related to all this that was not created by the so-called religion of light themselves was this blog post. He says a lot of the same things I've said, with two major additions. The first is a few pictures of MI. One of them is clearly CG, the other appears to be the basis for the CG image. The original, to me, appears pretty old. The second thing is a number of places where the religion of light leaders spoke bad about Islam. Taking a look into the blog, it's clear that Drunk Priesthood isn't the only person investigating this group, and the blog's author provides the information they've been able to gather, as well as their conclusion that this religious movement is fake. But despite this, we're unable to clearly prove or disprove the Manichaeans. I will link it in the description in case you want to read the whole blog yourself. The original post continues. This last point is interesting, as Religion of Light claims to be located in many Islamic countries, such as Iran and Syria, despite all their content being in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. I also find it interesting, considering their strong association with pre-Islamic Arabic religions, especially Judaism and Christianity, but also, Mani considered himself to be the next prophet after Jesus. There are two things left that I'd like to point out, which for me just served to confuse me further. One is that I found a 3-year-old Reddit post in r/Manichaeism, theorizing on where all the resources went. Here it is. The Reddit post Drunk Priesthood linked was posted by the user Young Ruski. Now I won't go over the whole post, but I will go over some of the sections. I will also link it below if you want to check it out for yourself. Exodus from the Religion of Light. After digging around archival sites for any sites related to Manichaeism, I think I managed to piece enough information together to understand why it was that around 2017, all our resources mysteriously began to disappear. There really used to be a wealth of sites and personal blogs that Manichaeans utilized to spread their message, and I remember all this stuff years ago, even though I was never totally immersed in that community. This is just a theory that I arrived at after a few weeks of very casual research, but it seems to me like a sizable portion of the Manichaean internet community knew one another, and at one point a large part of the said community decided to leave Manichaeism in favor of another esoteric teaching. The websites that are central to our analysis are Manichaeism.org, Mithranet.com, and religionoflight.org. These three sites seem to act as hubs for most Manichaeans on the net, although most of the websites I will mention had ties to one another, and so they all acted as a big web of Manichaean thinkers. Presumably this was all run by people that were acquainted with one another. What happened? Now what happened is not only did most of the Manichaean-run websites cease to exist, but the 3 main websites listed above are now run by people that profess a different religion. To add to this, many of the YouTube videos that were once available on the internet are gone. Why did it happen? I have a few theories as to why this all could have taken place. 2 of them deal with MI. Perhaps MI saw in OASPE a natural continuation of Manichaean principles, and thus led Manichaean disciples to a better, more modern, and more complete illuminated teaching. Although it seems like this is a very inflated cult of personality that formed around MI, this is another theory as to why they may have left. This is a quote from his website. Reciting the name of the divine messenger, with thanksgiving for his grace is practiced 10 times per day, although an adherent of the teaching of his divine presence may recite his name more than the traditional 10 times, if he or she wishes. Perhaps this megalomania and universalist demagoguery prompted many members of the former Manichaean community to seek other spiritual paths. His insistence that people recite his name and read his teachings, which are basically love thy neighbor, is another reason for why Manichaeans might have decided to move on. Even his website is called his divine presence. Perhaps the man that they believed would be a Krishna, Jesus, and King Tut combined was far from enlightened, and his lack of competence or knowledge drove them away to OASPE. The third theory is that a large part of the community simply made the decision to leave Manichaeism due to whatever faults they found, and to instead adopt OASPE as their religion. I have no idea whether anyone from the original community is on this subreddit, and whether they know as to what actually happened, and why all these websites were nuked. All these theories are taken from my own research. If anyone has insight, please comment or message me. More information may be added as time goes on, in the case that I find new oddities. Thank you. This theory seemed well thought out, and continuing in his post, Drunk Priesthood would say, this seems to suggest that all of the Religion of Light nonsense is either a failed/failing cult, or something else that is less than a legitimate religion. Otherwise, no one would be so in the dark. That said, it does appear as if some people are genuinely following these teachings. The second thing, however, appears to maybe lend some credibility to this being somewhat legitimate. Side note, I don't mean legitimate as in a true religion or revelation, but rather that the leaders and the followers may take it quite seriously. I found this. This is a list of letters purportedly written by the Manichaean Church's Worldwide Organizational Committee to followers of the Religion of Light. Please be aware that some of the links open a PDF, while others are download links for .odt files. The letters look strangely official. However, I cannot find any information on how, or if they may have been disseminated. The link to the letters was broken, but Dopey did provide more context in this paragraph. One letter is particularly interesting to me, as it serves as a call for missionaries. The list of requirements for missionary work and the questions that one must answer appear very standard for aspiring missionaries. at least compared with Christianity. My sister was a Christian missionary for a long time, and I considered doing the same before leaving the church. A lot of the questions in this letter are questions my sister had to answer before her trips. Here's a PDF link to the letter in question. The thing that confuses me is why this letter would be written if the religion of light was mere nonsense or a failed cult, as it appears to be by all other accounts. Here we can see the letter, and if what the OP is saying is true, why would a fake organization go through all the trouble of making these letters? In the letter, there's a list of languages, cities, and even a questionnaire that all missionaries must answer. One could argue that it's a copy and paste template other missionaries use, but even then, it seems like too much effort for something that's fake. One more thing to know in this letter is the last full paragraph. I don't even know what to make of it, but it strikes me as very odd. Here it is. We also wish to make you aware that at certain times, the current and newly established congregations that Manistans and countries listed above may at times be visited physically by His Divine Presence at Ma Armani, and various sons of Meritarendra. As such, the elders will expect you to dress and act appropriately, always with due respect. You would be expected to do this regularly outside of their presence, but to be especially mindful during one of the special visits. There is a very high level of trust that must be developed and maintained before you're permitted to work directly with any of these individuals, unless they already know you. After reading this section, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect members of any organization to act respectful around the higher-ups and conduct themselves in a proper manner, even when not around the leaders, as they represent the organization, and anything they do could reflect back onto them, whether it's positive or negative. Personally, I don't think this is too weird. Maybe the wording, but the idea is relatively normal. Drunk Priesthood would wrap up the post like this. Okay, sorry if this got too long. There's honestly so much more I could write about, such as the many people named on these websites with the surname Terendra, as well as an entire other religion within the whole thing called Terendrism. There's also a ton of WordPress blogs associated with all this. I once read one from a supposed nun of Manichaeism, as well as several from people named Terendra. It's an insane rabbit hole when you dig deep. With that said though, I'll cut it off here by saying that my two main questions still stand in my mind. Who is MI? And what's the point of all this? The point of it could very well just be money and power as a cult, but there's so many smaller questions that I still want answers to, merely out of curiosity. Even if nothing nefarious or all that mysterious is going on, it's interesting to me, and I'm going to keep looking into it. If anyone is interested in looking into all of this with me, please do let me know. Last thing, several of these websites have contact forms. I have not reached out to them, and I don't know what will happen if you do. Clearly, this is only the tip of the iceberg, and this movement is, or at least was at some time, active. Given that some of these websites are still uploading at the time of writing this, I would say that someone somewhere has got to be managing, or at least monitoring them. The thing that I find odd is that despite the links and the OP's findings, information on this group is very hard to come across, and while it is possible to find, you have to really dig and connect some dots to make good sense of what's going on. In the comments, the Redditor would state that they encountered this group, but did not provide any more information or evidence to back up this claim. I'm from South Africa, and unfortunately came into contact with someone in this cult recently. If we do assume that this comment is true, that would mean that 7 months ago, or at least within the past year, there were active members, possibly even missionaries looking to recruit more people. I did some digging on the OP's account, and was able to find a more recent reply thread between a now deleted user and Drunk Priesthood. The deleted user would tell Drunk Priesthood about their experience with this group. The last two replies went like this. You're welcome. Looking over that ancient Catholic Church of Jerusalem website, I must say that some of them took an unexpected direction, from various Gnostic, esoteric approaches to a form of traditional Catholicism. That's not a development that I would have expected, though I suppose it mirrors the story of St. Augustine. I see that they have alleged apparitions from the Virgin Mary. I've had some prior experience with radical traditional Catholics. From that experience, I always see a red flag when one of these small and obscure groups claim a new apparition from the Virgin. I never imagined the situation could get even more strange and mysterious. Yeah, it would be nice to know the reason for it all. They also have a website based on the Waspe Bible, which is an 1800s spiritist work. It was pretty active until very recently, but there have been 2 posts there in the last few months. The website is faithist.org. The whole thing just gets weirder and weirder. And just like the OP said, the more information we uncover, the weirder and deeper this mystery seems to get. I truthfully cannot tell whether this is some failed cult or a legitimate religion. My issue is that there's so many moving parts and different branches that feel as if they're part of some big web with no clear center point. Most religions spread their teachings proudly and openly, yet this one seems to be shrouded in secrecy. With that said, I'm curious to see what you think, so let me know down in the comments. Drunk Priesthood has not posted any more updates, but it's safe to say that they're keeping tabs on this group and will likely provide more findings in the future. There's a link to his account and his original post in the description so that you can also explore this rabbit hole. The first post I found was uploaded onto the RBI sub on May 17th of 2022. Reddit user competitive gold 2163 came to the sub seeking help capturing the killer of their parents. The post goes like this. Please help me find justice for the killer of my parents. Murdered from multiple gunshot wounds while hiking a trail in Concord, New Hampshire on April 18th. A sketch has been released of a person of interest. He is described as being a white male in his 20s or 30s, 5'10", clean shaven with brown hair. The video below is from the most recent press release. All stories and information that have been released to the public and our family can be found easily by searching Just Wend Read on Google. Attached to the post was a YouTube video from the news channel WMUR TV.
This noon, the New Hampshire Attorney General's office has just released this composite sketch and a description of a person of interest related to the murder of a Concord couple. Thanks for joining us this noon. Let's get right over to WMUR's Sean McDonald. He's joining us live in the newsroom with these breaking developments.
Gene, this just came into our newsroom about 15 minutes ago. In addition to that sketch, there is also a more detailed description of the person of interest and a new reward for information about the murders of Stephen and Wendy Reed. Take a look at the sketch here again, and there is an added description to all of this. The man is in his 20s or early 30s, approximately 5 feet 10 inches tall, medium build, with short brown hair and clean shaven. Authorities say he was seen in the vicinity of the shootings on Monday, April 18th, 2022, about a month ago.
Upon searching for the OP story myself, I managed to find an article on the WCVB website that was uploaded only 3 days after the OP uploaded their post. The article describes the horrific events and asks readers to provide any information they can in regards to the case. Investigators looking for the gunman who killed the New Hampshire couple are sorting through a surge of new tips received since they publicized a sketch of a person of interest earlier this week. More than 110 tips were received since Tuesday. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office said that's in addition to approximately 170 tips received earlier in the investigation. Investigators say they want to speak to the man depicted in the sketch about the murders of Concord couple Stephen and Just Wend Reed. A $33,500 reward is available for information about the case. The person of interest is described as a white male in his late 20s or early 30s, about 5 feet and 10 inches tall, with a medium build and short brown hair. He is described as clean shaven. The Attorney General's office said that the man in the sketch was seen in the vicinity of the area where the couple was killed. Investigators said that the man was wearing a dark blue jacket, possibly with a hood, khaki-colored pants, and a backpack. He is someone that investigators believe may have information about these crimes, either as a witness or as a suspect. Senior Assistant Attorney General Jeffrey Ward said, "The bodies of Stephen Reed, 67, and Just Wend Reed, 68, were found near a hiking trail in Concord, New Hampshire. The couple left their home in an apartment complex on April 18th and went for a walk. Family and friends did not see or hear from them after that," authorities said. Their bodies were found on April 21st in a marshy area off the Broken Ground Trail. Both died from multiple gunshot wounds, according to the New Hampshire Attorney General's office. This investigation remains the Concord Police Department's highest priority, Chief Bradley Osgood said. It's clear that the OP is not lying about what happened to their parents, and as usual, many Redditors took to the comments. One user by the name _Pearl commented under the post, and a conversation between Pearl, the OP, and another user Kissy Moose would ensue. "I remember reading about this when they went missing, and was horrified when they were found deceased. I cannot imagine how painful and scary this is for you, and for the rest of your family. There's a pretty active thread on Web Sleuths if you'd also like to post or read over there. This is new to me, thank you so much. OP, do you know if your parents ever mentioned problems with people living around their apartment? Or do you know if your parents were wearing footwear or had gear on them like they were prepared to go on a hike? Because where they live is walkable to where they were found, and the person of interest had so little equipment on them. I'm just wondering if they took that trail that day because of their own fruition, or if someone did not want them to be found close to where they live. To protect our relationship with CPD, I cannot disclose their attire, but I am aware of it. They didn't express a complaint to my knowledge about a neighbor or resident, but the apartment complex they live in easily houses 1,000 people. To answer the question on the thread, their walks and their exercise were not scheduled hourly or daily. They simply took the trail several times weekly when it suited them." Pearl's comment provided a link to a Web Sleuth thread, which at the time was no longer available. Thankfully, after using the Wayback Machine, I was able to find a capture on May 17th of 2022, the same day Competitive Gold first posted. It seems as though someone was already thinking ahead and archived the post before it was deleted. The Web Sleuth user Citizen Sleuth posted on August 2nd of 2021. "State and local police are asking for the public's help to find a Concord couple last heard from on Monday. Stephen L. Reed and his wife Just Wend P. Reed spent Easter Sunday at a relative's house in Concord," police said in a news release. Both had phone conversations with relatives or friends the following day, but when Stephen failed to arrive at a planned event on Wednesday, concerned relatives called the police to report the couple missing. The Reeds are avid outdoor enthusiasts and often walk on the trails near their home, according to police. Police said both household vehicles were parked in their usual spots. Their absence and lack of communication with family and friends is uncharacteristic, and their disappearance is of significant concern, police said in the release. Further down, the OP would comment this: "My parents recently celebrated their 38th anniversary on February 4th. One of the things that has bothered me about the case is that they took regular walks 3 to 5 times a week on this trail, and it would have been very easy to target them, or for someone else to share their schedule. It's another thing that makes the thrill of the kill theory less likely for me." Attached was this picture of the OP's parents. And in a later edit to the original post, the OP would provide a link to the Attorney General's press conference as well.
Which is that investigators are seeking to identify and speak with the adult male individual depicted in the sketch that was distributed today and that's on the monitor here. This male, who is a person of interest in this investigation, was seen in the vicinity of the shooting on Monday, April 18th, 2022. Anyone who has information about the identity or whereabouts of this individual is asked to contact the Concord Police Department or the Concord Regional Crime Line. And obviously, going back to that information, the homicides occurred on the broken ground trails, and the Reed's bodies were recovered from a wooded area off of the Marsh Loop Trail. I can't be more specific about that. And again, that's something to protect the integrity of the investigation. And what that means is that at this stage, it's important that there's information that's only known to investigators and to the killer. That allows us to consider.
I'll leave a link in the description if you'd like to watch the whole thing for yourself. When attempting to check on the OP's user page, I was unable to find any new posts. In fact, I was unable to find any posts, as the page stated that Competitive Gold had not posted anything. And while we would not get to see an update on the case from the OP, another user by the name FlyFightWinMIL would go onto the RBI sub with an update and hope for resolution to the case sometime later. Note, I am not the OOP. I thought my fellow RBIers might be interested in an update on the RBI post made approximately 5 months ago. Police arrested 26-year-old Logan LeVar Clegg this week for the murder of Stephen and Jeswyn Reed earlier this year. I hope that this brings some closure for the OOP. Attached was a link to the DOJ website, where the following release was uploaded. Concord Attorney General John M. Formella and the Concord Police Chief Bradley Osgood announced an arrest warrant has been signed charging Logan LeVar Clegg, age 26, most recently of South Burlington, Vermont, with 2 counts of second-degree murder for knowingly causing the deaths of Stephen and Jeswyn Reed by shooting them multiple times on April 18th of 2022 in Concord. After the warrant was issued, it was provided to Vermont authorities and used this evening to arrest Mr. Clegg as a fugitive from justice on the New Hampshire murder charges. Mr. Clegg is being held at the Northwest State Correctional Facility in St. Albans, Vermont, where he has been housed on an unrelated charge since October 12, 2022. Mr. Clegg's arraignment on the fugitive from justice charge in Vermont is expected to take place on Thursday, October 20th at the Franklin County Superior Court in St. Albans, Vermont. After Mr. Clegg's arraignment, New Hampshire authorities will be seeking Mr. Clegg's extradition to New Hampshire. The Concord Police Department continues to investigate the circumstances surrounding the murders of Stephen and Jeswyn Reed. It appears as if the police were finally able to find and charge the suspected killer of the OP's parents. It's possible that due to the news that the OP decided to take a break from Reddit, as they were likely getting flooded by messages and replies. As stated earlier, the killer was a man by the name of Logan Clegg, and he was 26 years old at the time of his arrest. Logan already had a history of violence, and had even taken the life of somebody years prior. A Redditor by the name of Iwin Ham would comment, "Apparently he stabbed a man to death in Spokane years ago, and got off claiming it was self-defense." They also provided a link to an article detailing the events. To summarize, when Logan was 22 and homeless, he got into a fight with a man named Corey Ward. On his way home from his shift at McDonald's, Logan was confronted by Corey, who was yelling at Logan from his apartment window stating that he was going to fight him. It's alleged that Corey thought Logan was trying to steal his car, and that's why Corey went outside to confront him. And when he got to Logan, the two started fighting, and that's when Logan stabbed Corey in the chest. Once Corey was on the ground, Logan got up and proceeded to walk home, allegedly thinking that Corey was not badly hurt. According to Corey's mother, Lisa, Corey's final words were, "I was beating someone up, and he stabbed me in the heart." Following the incident, Logan was contacted by police, but the case was ultimately ruled as self-defense, and Logan managed to walk away a free man. Despite this, Logan was unable to stay out of trouble. In fact, other Redditors would provide more articles with more information on Logan's life of crime. One comment thread goes like this: "This case is pretty local to me, so I've been hoping for an update. It sounds like pretty good investigative work was done. It can be frustrating, because I've noticed New Hampshire authorities tend to be very tight-lipped during investigations, and you tend to not get any information until someone is actually arrested. But it's probably better that way in the end." That second article was wild. This guy was flying all over the world, had fake IDs, he worked at McDonald's and lived in a tent. I hope they find out everything he was up to. Seriously, what was this guy doing? In my opinion, this wasn't his first murder. Edit. Just read that he stabbed someone to death 4 years ago claiming it was self-defense. This guy is a gigantic piece of shit. This is what confused me. I also read that when he was arrested, he had a passport card from another country and over $7,000? How? He had robbery charges, but only for stealing guns, not money. How is this homeless man who basically only works at McDonald's randomly traveled all over the world? Paris, Iceland, Portugal, and Germany? Those are lifetime dream vacations for some people. He's been all over the US too. I also noticed he doesn't look like a typical homeless person. Very young and clean. They were alerted by Utah authorities that a murderer was planning to leave in 3 days, having bought plane tickets for Berlin, Germany. They arrested him the next day on October 12th, bought tickets to Berlin, and had $7,000 left on him. It's very strange. One of the articles provides a detailed report on how the police were able to find Logan. You see, police had actually run into Logan a day before the bodies of the Reeds were found. Logan was living in a tent in a wooded area when the police walked up on him and asked him what he was doing. Logan told the police his name was Arthur Kelly, and the police began a background check on him. But since they had no record of an Arthur Kelly, and since this was before the discovery of the Reeds, the police had no reason to detain him and continued moving forward. The next day on April 21st, the bodies of the Reeds were found near the wooded area they had seen Logan, and police immediately remembered Logan, or Arthur, and began searching for him as he was now a person of interest. The thing about Logan is that he loves Code Red Mountain Dew, and in fact when the police first made contact with him the previous day, Logan was surrounded by multiple cans of the soda. Police used this information and went to a nearby Walmart where they checked surveillance footage, and found the person who consisted of the appearance of Arthur Kelly, but still no records of the man were able to be found. The search for Logan was extensive, but eventually through bullet fragments and McDonald's job application, police were able to conclude that Arthur Kelly was actually Logan Clegg, and on October 19th of 2022, an arrest warrant was issued against him. And as you already know from the DOJ release, Logan was already in jail, and now awaits trial on October 20th of 2023. Although we cannot bring back the OP's parents, we can appreciate the fact that Logan Clegg is behind bars and will likely never see the outside world again, hopefully giving competitive gold some form of closure, which unfortunately, many other Redditors, and just people, are not as lucky to receive. February 21st, 2021, a German user Straight Reception 14 posted onto the RBI subreddit, seeking advice on a series of strange letters that had been sent to them and to some of their neighbors. Hello, I am getting weird letters by a random person. My neighbors and I never saw the person, so I think he or she puts the letters in my mailbox at night. The letters contain some weird letters and circles forming a strange shape. I got 3 letters in total, but threw the first 2 away not thinking much about it. I thought kids were trying to prank me. Today a friend told me that he had a strange letter in his mailbox this morning, and I am certain that these are from the same person. There appears to be an SMTH, like an internet address, but it leads to nothing. My friend only lives 400 meters away from me, and gave me the letter. I uploaded them on Imgur for you. Maybe you have an idea. Attached was 2 images of the letters from the OP and from their friend. There are a lot of 9s going on. 9 is German for no. Is the address an onion address maybe? Did you try typing it into a Tor browser? Yeah, I am from Germany. Haven't tried Tor. Maybe I will download it later. This comment was in German, but I translated it using Google Translate. Fellow German here also. Looks like a kid prank to me too, even if the handwriting on the note doesn't look like a child. The OP would reply with, URL is not working in the Tor browser. Further down, the user Environmental Fee 8098 would post a YouTube video that they found after some attempts, while also providing their own theory. So there is a mistake, and actually, in the link, 2 is a Z, and S is a capital. After attempts to find the right combination, I found this video. The title of the video seems to be in German, so it makes sense. If you click and check the other uploads from the user, you can find one more video. Check it out by yourself. Maybe the OP can recognize the building? Anyways, creepy a bit. Don't know what to think about it. Posted as well as in the second topic posted by the OP with an update/edit. Channel name is Mort Manson. Mort is a reference to murder in other languages, and Manson to the famous family or murderers. In the description of this movie, you can find this. Another cipher? Let's see if this lets us go further. Cipher to Jemand War Da, which translates to someone was there. Second part, I believe is already in German and means should be dead. Translations made by Google and other websites, so may not be perfect. Someone who knows German can maybe correct any mistakes. And after a few days, we would get another update from the OP. Hey again. After some testing, I finally got the link to work. I'm pretty sure that it's belonging to the letter. This is what the letters actually mean. The 2 was actually a really bad written Z, and now after decoding it with a Caesar shift, it actually works. I just watched it and I don't know what to make of it. There's also another public video on this YouTube account, which is even more bizarre, and the title, Traum, means dream. They are also quite new and got uploaded just the day before we got the letters. I also asked around my neighborhood and someone living a few houses down also got a letter, but also threw it away because he thought it was his nephew doing a prank on him. But it only said one word, Mort, with 2 O's. Here's the wiki page for it. It has nothing to do with mort/death, but with bad dreams. And that makes sense, because the guy told me they love bad dreams for some reason. I still haven't visited the place though, because I don't have much time in the recent days. I just wanted to let you know now. Sorry if the English is not really good in this post. I am in a hurry. If you notice something or know something about these things, please let me know. Thanks. In the comments under this update, a user would provide a link to the second video on the Mort Manson YouTube channel, while also stating that they believe this is an ARG. And after watching the video for myself, I too am leaning into the ARG theory, but the OP would provide another update soon after, claiming that the letters were actually coming from a local cult. Hey, if you don't already know about this, look at this in my other previous post. After I tried to get some help via Instagram, I probably finally found the solution to the weird letters. It is still pretty obscure, but I think that the person who wrote me the response on Instagram is legit. He knew at the end that I tried multiple times contacting his friend on Instagram, and I told no one about it. Turns out that these people are actually in a cult. It has something to do with bad dreams, as we already found out, and the origins are from women who burned down houses some years ago. I don't actually know when it was, and she's also probably the leader of the cult. I never heard about it, and can't find anything about it on the internet, but my mother told me that she heard of the story before. You can read about it in the messages. I won't continue my search on Instagram as I promised him, and I will only post something here on Reddit if something interesting happens, or if they upload some more videos which turn out to be interesting. Thanks to everyone who helped. And here are the messages from the cult member on Instagram. By the way, sorry for the grammatical mistakes in the translation. The Instagram DMs are in German, but the OP was kind enough to include an English translation. Hey, can you please stop that with your Insta stories? We are not dangerous and haven't done anything bad yet. Are you a part of the group called Mort? I will stop posting if you answer some questions. I won't tell you everything, but you can ask me some things and I can see if I can answer. Then just stop bothering us. Why does this group exist? What are your goals? What has it to do with bad dreams? You live in, do you? Yes, why? Do you ever hear about the many houses which burned down some years ago? To be honest, no. At least I can't remember anything about it. Okay, doesn't matter anyways. There are some houses on fire that were lit up by someone, but that was not the goal. Dreams keep us away from the reality and they keep our potential low. We get guided by the arsonist, but I hate that phrase. She wanted to wake the people up, and it didn't work out the right way. Dreams are keeping us away from the real world and they are some kind of an illusion. Bad dreams are real and portray the real world. We need them to understand everything. We are just a group of people who woke up from the real dream. But there is not much difference between you and us. We just think different. Is this enough? I understand it now a bit better. But why the YouTube videos and the letters? Are these from you? Yes, the letters were written by someone of us. But that won't happen again. We thought it would be a good idea to gain attention. But we don't want that anymore. The videos are maybe from us. How many people are you? We are 10 people with the Mort. I don't want any more questions. I hope that you found the answers. We are a group of normal people who find something else interesting. Thanks for your interest in us. Thanks for the answers. Can you prove that you're in the group? I don't want to. Believe it or don't believe it, but stop spamming our friend, he's annoyed. Okay, I won't do it anymore. One more question. What happened to the arsonist? Everything was cleared up back then. As I said, we don't do anything illegal or anything else bad. Okay, thanks. I think it's a bit odd that some cult member would just answer questions like this to some random person on Instagram, even if the OP is spamming somebody close to the cult. And at this point, I really don't know what to make of this. The last update we get from the OP is not technically the final one, because the final one was removed and not saved onto the Wayback Machine. So this is the last update we have to go off of. Hey, they uploaded another video, and it's the weirdest one so far in my opinion. You can see a burned down house in the video. Between the sequences of the house, you can see a news article. I uploaded a picture with the 3 jump cuts. I found the video and tried to translate as much as I can read. Maybe someone else was able to read more of it. Seems to be an article of the woman which probably is the leader of the cult. I didn't find much about the incident, and nothing which would directly connect to this. 14 years ago, some houses were lit up in my area, but the few articles don't mention anything about dream catchers or the culprit. Really weird. These posts basically have ARG written all over them. However, looking into the OP's user profile, it seems that they're just a regular user. Nothing on their page really screams ARG besides these posts, but since the final update was removed by the RBI mods, the ARG theory seems to be the most likely answer. And just like many other Reddit rabbit holes, we are left at a dead end, forcing us to make our own conclusions as to what these letters and possible code could actually be. Before I get into the last dive, I want to take a second to let you know that the community Discord server is now live, and you can join it with the link in the description. There, you can suggest video topic ideas, submit your own creepy encounter stories, and interact with the community. But enough of that, let's continue. This post was uploaded on June 4th of 2023. I think I've stumbled upon a trafficking ring. I work in a popular mall in my area, and I am almost positive that there is a trafficking ring here. Twice I have been approached by girls my age asking me to recruit me to Bible study or to come pray with them. The first time it happened, she was a customer. I politely declined and asked her if there was anything she would be shopping for that I could help her find. She denied and said that she didn't have any money on her. She was also accompanied by 3 older men. It gave me the creeps. Her demeanor was unsettling, and she wouldn't stop staring at me even when I was showing her different products. It was definitely odd, but I brushed it off later. The next time it happened, I was on break and out of my store on my way to get a coffee. The mall was moderately busy, and all of a sudden this girl around the same age as me sprinted towards me and asked me if I wanted to go to Bible study. Again, I declined and said no, I'm not religious. The part that gets me is that each time they never introduced themselves, give a group or church name, give any pamphlets, flyers, or cards, etc. These girls are almost always with older men. I also recently found out that a girl was kidnapped from this mall and found later at a trafficking ring bust about 6 months ago. It's not much, but there's definitely something going on. Church groups, to my knowledge, usually stand together in public places and hand out flyers or have information booths. I feel like it's rare for them to single out people in public. This is all speculation. However, my intuition tells me this is something more. Theories about this group began in the comments, but rather than this being a possible trafficking ring, users seem to lean more into the theory that this group was actually a cult. That sounds super sketchy. I'll definitely bring this up with security. Listen to your intuition. It may save your life. Edited to amend my statement. I understand better now that mall cops are basically a farce. Call up your local PD or FBI or something. Yo, Scientologists did this to me. I was at the beach waiting outside a boardwalk shop my parents were in when 2 young girls approached me asking if I felt lonely and wanted me to share my address to get additional info for their group. I declined, but they had an older dude with them. So weird. One user with the name Mystery Institute would comment their possible theory, which could provide some insight as to who is behind the group. Likely the God the Mother folks, any of the sketchy church groups that utilize flirty phishing tactics, or something else along those lines. No way for us to investigate much of anything without more information though. If you tell us the name of the mall, that would be something. You can always have mall security talk to them and ask what organization they're from. Whether they lie or not, it's more data. Seems like the mall's managers wouldn't want them hanging around. Call the cops if you have any information that they're doing something illegal, of course, though this is unlikely to be anything related to human trafficking. I did my own Google search on the God the Mother group and was able to find their main website. The main page goes like this. God the Mother. When we look at all living organisms, we see the same pattern. Life comes from a father and mother. This is true for plants, animals, and human beings. But ultimately, the mother is the one who gives life to their children. God made it this way to show us that, even spiritually, we only receive eternal life through God the Mother. And at first glance, this seems innocent enough, even good in nature. However, other Redditors would provide information as to how this religious group goes about recruiting new members. Did they make any mention of God the Mother? If so, it's a cult, and I think they prey on Asian women, but they'll approach anyone who is alone. This is especially common on university campuses. I had a couple of those fucks approach me today. How is it a cult? I just googled it because I've never heard of it, and apparently it's a church that believes Jesus came back to earth in the form of a woman. They believe that some 79-year-old woman in South Korea is Jesus or something. It mostly has Asian followers, but they have branched out recruiting more people. I only know what I can find on Wiki, but anecdotally, they are very aggressive at recruitment. Here's an identical scenario of them inviting someone to Bible study and approaching them in odd locations. As for the cultish aspect, it's one family. A man found the cult, but when he died, his daughter took over and now she's God the Mother. The payments go to his family, so they are extorting the followers for power and money. They're also encouraging people to cut off demonic influences, aka family members who are against the religion. This user also provided a 7-year-old Reddit post, where another user describes their encounter with the God the Mother cult. Has anyone else been approached by the members of God the Mother or the World Mission Society Group of God? My wife and I have been approached by both together and on our own, at least half a dozen times over the last 3 years. It has happened to me most often at the Barnes & Noble locations. Usually you'll be approached by a man or woman who invite you to a Bible study they're about to have. If you actually engage them in conversation, they will try and show you specific Bible passages and use completely insane logic to make you think they have unique and totally true but different interpretations of what the Bible says. They won't say anything about it in person, but essentially, they think that an old Korean woman is the current manifestation of what they call God the Mother. Anyways, I'm getting really tired of these people, and I'm wondering if anyone else has experienced this. Considering I've been approached multiple times in a Barnes & Noble, can I contact the company and tell them that there are people harassing customers? I was cordial enough the first couple of times, but it's gotten to the point where as soon as I realize I'm talking to one of their members, I start raising my voice and using the word cult a lot, which causes them to leave pretty quickly. Here's a link for more info on their group. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. I won't go over the whole website, but I did find another post by the user Flyaway5 on the r/cult sub, asking the sub if they believe God the Mother is an actual cult or just a regular religion. And it was under this post that another user would tell their story about how their sister-in-law was sucked into this cult. Where do I even begin? She was raised Catholic, and I say this because her family does not go to church or is very religious at all, but she was baptized in the church and received First Communion. Once they moved to the US, however, they stopped attending church but still celebrated holidays as family time. Recruitment. She was recruited when she was working in a salon, and 2 college-aged girls came in and asked if she wanted to attend Bible study. She said no at first, but told herself that if they came a second time, she would take it as a sign from God and attend. Of course the girls came again. This is the tactic. She decided to go to the Bible study. She was not introduced to the Mother of God until much later, not before they discredited every mainstream religion first, especially Catholicism. Examples include Sunday worship is wrong, and any holidays are the devil's doing because of pagan origin. How they cut you off from family and friends. They tell you that your family is important, but your eternal/heavenly family is more important than your physical earthly family. The devil will work through your friends and family to try to convince you to turn against God, aka the church. The only way to save your loved ones is to get them baptized into the church, so she has to be able to convince her father to also convert. This is why they didn't come to our wedding. Even when my husband begged on his knees and cried for his father to come, the church leader said that to attend the ceremony is to condone the evil doings of the devil, and so he didn't come. He said that he's doing it out of love, citing the passage from the Bible where Abraham was asked to sacrifice his one and only son. They go to church 3 times a day on Saturday, as part of Passover. They believe that Sunday worship is wrong because the Bible says to keep Sabbath on the 7th day. This is in line with the Seventh-day Adventists. To not keep the Passover means you lose a part of your salvation, so they will not miss it no matter what. Even on birthdays, graduations, weddings, and even when we go on vacations, they will miss all of Saturday to attend service. They are discouraged from looking things up on the internet. They are to disregard anything you have to say unless you are very well versed in the Bible. They constantly cherry pick everything to justify their claims, one of which is the Mother of God, who came from Eve, citing in Revelations that New Jerusalem is the bride of the Lamb, aka the bride is New Jerusalem. There are a few other passages that they try to use to justify that there is a Mother God counterpart, because God said, "Let us make man in our image." They argue that the us and our refers to Father and Mother God, and that Mother God is Zhang Gil-ah, a South Korean woman in her 70s, currently residing in South Korea. It is so creepy because my sister-in-law keeps a photo of her on her bedside and prays to this lady every morning and night. They do not pray in Jesus' name. They pray in their Heavenly Father's name, aka the Korean man who founded the original cult, aka An Song-hong, who they believe is the second coming of Christ. My sister-in-law was married and her husband did not believe, and it caused a lot of tension in their marriage. They divorced. She blames him for not loving her enough to persevere. She doesn't see it his way at all. The church also doesn't encourage you to have children in the church, because the apocalypse is coming and why would you bring children into a world where they can't be saved? She is completely brainwashed and his father is as well. I cannot tell you the amount of money they've donated from their paychecks. The church tells you that the more you donate, the better your reward will be in heaven. They don't celebrate holidays with us because it's evil. They won't do anything against their church. And they believe that the more obedient they are, the better the chances are to save their loved ones who don't believe. I'm so over it, honestly. Sadly, this user would not provide more information on their sister-in-law, as it's likely that they have little to no communication with her anymore due to her being involved with this cult. But one thing is clear, that throughout the years, the God the Mother cult keeps popping up, and thanks to Reddit we're able to find many people who have also encountered them. It's hard to tell what they want other than monetary gains for the founding family, but when it comes to doomsday cults, things never tend to end well. Currently, the God the Mother cult has over 3 million members spread across 175 countries, and recently, in 2022, it was reported that they were not linked to any trafficking operations. From what I can tell, they've been laying low, aside from the occasional report that they're recruiting new members. So if you're ever on campus, the mall, or just walking through the city, and you get approached by somebody who wants you to go to their Bible study, be careful that they're not with the God the Mother cult, and reject every offer they give you. Otherwise, you might end up stuck, unable to reach your family, your friends, or your finances. First thing I wanted to look at was actually a subscriber request, and was uploaded on July 8th of 2021 by the Reddit user Blue Black Jupiter. In the time that the post was originally uploaded, the OP has added multiple updates, so we're going to explore this in the order they were added. The first post went like this. Yes, I know what you're thinking. I've had a psychological evaluation, 10-minute compilation video, 90 plus pages of time-stamped incidents, and my carbon monoxide detector works fine. Before watching the video, please, be in a silent room, use headphones, and turn the volume up to maximum. Batua means the person in the above unit. Background, me, single black female from the US. Her, single white female from Ireland. I can't even begin to describe how unbelievable and frightening the situation is. It started shortly after I moved into my apartment on September 1st of 2020. My therapist picked up on the fact that I seemed uneasy and asked if I felt safe. At the time, I hadn't turned into my surroundings much, but realized she was right, and I hadn't been relaxing. I'd soon learn why. Inexplicably, my neighbor from above would follow me from room to room and hover over me. For example, if I'm in my bedroom, she will already be in the room above it. If I get up to go to my kitchen, she will tail behind me seconds after. If I go back to my room, she'll do the same, sometimes stomping. She's literally my shadow. For the first few months, she did this nearly every single time I got up to do something, even during some intimate moments like taking a shower or using the bathroom. Dumbfounded, I asked friends if they'd ever been able to hear their downstairs neighbors. I've never heard them in past places, and can't hear those below me now. I took detailed notes for a week before realizing things weren't a coincidence. The first person I told was my therapist. She encouraged me to seek out an evaluation, and I did. Not having a history of such illnesses, I never doubted my observations, but still wanted to rule out the onset of something like schizophrenia. I'm fine in that regard. It sounds crazy, but for the longest time, I've suspected there might be hidden cameras in my apartment. There have been too many things I've done that she's reacted to that wouldn't be possible without seeing me. And honestly, hidden camera crimes will become more frequent once people realize how easy they are to get on sites like Amazon. They're already an issue in places like South Korea. Why I think there's more to this. She never ever leaves her apartment, and until May, never appeared to have any visitors. Those visitors were some of the tenants on my floor. They moved out last weekish. When I complained to the landlord in October, he told me maintenance was never able to get to her unit. He also said that 2 people lived there, and that one was unemployed. Said that he would talk to her in person, which I didn't get since we were in lockdown. The landlord then went MIA and hired a property manager. Her roommate secretly moved out last year. All the tenants on her floor moved out by June. All units in the building are on September leases with the exception of one. One of the tenants on her floor had a roommate who appeared to move out during the middle of the year. Someone left a bottle of bleach square on my doormat. This has racist connotations, and bleach and acid attacks are not uncommon in Europe. I suspect she might have done it. I cannot hear the tenants below me, and I could barely hear those next to me before they moved out. The only sounds I hear from my upstairs neighbor are her stomping, smoke alarm, and when she first turns on her shower. This isn't an insulation problem. This has caused me a significant amount of fear and exacerbated my medical issues. I've lost months of work and have spent nearly a quarter of my life living with friends. I live very much in fear that this person could harm me as they are fixated on me 24/7 and never ever leave their apartment. This is an extremely strange situation, and given how folks in my periphery have behaved, I believe someone knows something. I can't keep quiet about this any longer in fear that she might do something to someone else. I'm hoping by sharing this story, the community might be able to help me with the following: identify places where the cameras can hide, and detecting different types of cameras. Any help with this would be appreciated. Thank you for your time. The OP also provided an almost 10-minute long video of their experiences with the upstairs neighbor. I have already played portions of the full video, but here's the rest of it. The comments were immediately full of support and advice, but mostly validation for the OP and reassurance that they were not crazy for being concerned about the situation. I've seen cases on this sub where people are obviously genuinely suffering from some type of mental problem. Based on the videos, I don't think this is the case at all. I've lived in flats before and have not once been able to hear the people below me, especially as you were moving rather quietly at some points, yet she still followed. I absolutely understand your concern of hidden cameras for this reason. If moving out isn't an option, and you'd rather find evidence you need to get looking, check wall sockets, smoke detectors, any decor, cushions, anywhere you would think a camera could be hidden. A lot of cameras reflect light, so turn off all the lights and then search around with your phone's flash. It might take a while to do a deep search of your home, but it sounds worth it. It's concerning that she knows the room you've walked to despite how quiet you are sometimes. It's especially concerning that she's doing it in the first place. Sounds to me like she's got some kind of mental problem, especially if she never goes out, but instead spends her days stomping about to worry you. I definitely would recommend moving, but I know that's not always an option. You're doing the right thing by logging everything, so don't stop that. Seriously, I'm nearly in tears. Thank you for validating this. It's been so hard opening up because I assumed people wouldn't believe me. I've had to be so strategic with who I tell as a result. But now, I think it's too serious to just let this go. I feel she might do something to someone else. I'll perform the search as you laid out and see if I find anything. Thank you once again. Inspect every single air vent, outlet, fire alarm, light, fan, anything mounted on a wall or in the apartment when you moved in that you didn't bring with you. Do what another user suggested with turning off the lights and using a flashlight to look for a reflection. If you can't afford it, an RF signal detector should help you find any hidden cameras. Lastly, if you have the ability to, move. Will do. Thank you. I do have an RF detector, but I'm still figuring out how to properly calibrate it. We'll definitely move once I have the means. After some time and dozens of comments, the OP would provide us with a series of updates. First update. Thank you so much to everyone who responded. Feeling supported and validated has been overwhelming these last few hours. It's been a long road dealing with this, and I'm not sure what happens from here. At the very least, it might expose a new way people are able to stalk others. On the surface, her actions seem comical, but her methods are worrisome. I also appreciate the skepticism from some posters, because even through all this, I have to maintain some as well, if only to preserve my sanity. I wasn't able to test for cameras last night as she stayed up as late as I did, so I ended up falling asleep. I will try again tonight. My friend has also just arrived this morning, and I'll keep this thread updated. From here on, I'll be reading all the updates in the order they were posted, one by one. Second update. Thank you all once again for commenting. I'll try to get through as many of the comments as possible to help provide more info. My friend has been working at my place since this morning. I've mostly stayed in my bedroom while she's been in the other room at her computer. We've noticed the following. When my friend was setting up her computer in the morning, my neighbor came up above us briefly before walking away. When I left my apartment for a little over an hour, my friend said she came above her, stomped for a bit, and then mostly stayed silent. She didn't follow my friend around, but my friend did say that she mostly stayed at her desk and didn't really walk around. When I returned to my apartment, I took a shower. My friend and I heard my neighbor above, near my bathroom as she stomped periodically throughout my shower. Largely uneventful stuff, but we'll keep an eye on things. I've seen a few comments asking why I'm waiting until nighttime. Given some of the advice about detecting infrared light, I figured waiting until it's as dark as possible would be ideal. It's also quieter, so I can listen for any sounds. I'll update later once my friend and I do a search. Thank you all once again for your help. Third update. My friend and I spent the last 2 hours removing light fixtures, checking outlets, small crevices, little holes in the walls, etc. We didn't find anything conclusive, but we will search again after dinner. Fourth update. We searched again and didn't find anything. Thank you all for your helpful comments regarding finding hidden cameras. I'll do one last check tomorrow, but still not sure what to make of the situation. Fifth update. A kind Redditor helped me get my cameras back online and checked to make sure no unknown devices were connected to my Wi-Fi. To give more information on the searches we did this weekend, we removed the light fixtures and checked on anything out of place, inspected the many holes in the walls, the crevices, etc., checked the vents, outlets, fire alarms, turned off all the lights and used our phones to check for any infrared lights. We didn't find anything, which I'll admit gives me some peace of mind. I know that it's an unbelievable scenario, so maintaining some skepticism is definitely key. I have a few next steps in mind I'll be pursuing. Once again, thank you all so much for your help, comments, and the skepticism. If anything of note happens, I'll create a new thread to update the RBI. Have a great week. I checked the OP's profile myself to see if any further updates were uploaded, but the last thing I was able to find was a reply to one of the comments from a now deleted user. Looking at this logically, if there are any cameras in your apartment, it means that either someone has come into your apartment and hardwired cameras into every room of your house, or that someone is regularly coming into your apartment to swap out batteries. Do either of those options sound likely to you? Also, how frequently does this happen? Just once a day? Once a week? All day, every day? Does this person never eat, sleep, or shower? Does she have nothing better to do than spend every moment of her life watching you and following you around? Does that sound likely to you? You say she never leaves her apartment. Never? Does she not go to work? Does she not go grocery shopping? She spends literally every second of her life watching you. Does that sound likely? I know this must be terrifying for you, but this sounds like paranoia and anxiety. Take all the advice here about checking for cameras. But if you don't find any, are you at least willing to entertain the possibility that this is not really happening? Or that your stress and anxiety are causing you to misinterpret innocent behavior? Your reasoning is very sound, and I too have thought about how unlikely such a scenario might be. If there are cameras, I doubt they'd be battery powered as the harassment is so persistent. If they're hardwired, how could that happen? I don't see anything obvious, so this too becomes difficult to prove. Believe it or not, her following me around occurred nearly every time I got up to do something for the first few months. I'd leave for a few hours daily and come home around 5 or 6. I assumed she did whatever in those time periods. But when I was home, she'd be fixated on me. The part about her staying up is also true. I've tested this countless times, changing my sleep schedule. Yesterday I was up later than usual replying to comments and looking for an opportunity to search, but she would stomp every so often, which is how I knew she was still awake. I'm not sure what this person does, and I, being someone who is very introverted, even this perplexes me. I have no idea why someone might dedicate so much time to harass a perfect stranger. As for your last question, there have been too many incidents to think this is all in my head. I understand your concerns because it's very easy to make a mountain out of a molehill. In some sick way, I hope they exist, just to prove that this wasn't all in my head. Thank you for your comment, and I'll make sure to keep some skepticism in mind. Unfortunately, no further updates were provided, so we're kinda left at a dead end. I personally believe that mental health has a lot to do with the situation. Whether it's the OPs or the upstairs neighbor is not quite clear, although given the videos that we saw, we can likely assume that the OP is not making this up in their head. Hopefully they were able to get away from their upstairs neighbor and finally get some peace of mind. But for now, that's all we have to go off of. If you would also like to submit something you want me to look into, or a personal experience you want to hear narrated, join the Discord server linked in the description below. This one is extra disturbing to me. Despite the fact that I found out about it on Reddit, the situation actually takes place on the platform I call home, YouTube. I first found out about this while browsing through the Internet Mysteries subreddit. A user by the name LeBigBoy uploaded this post on June 5th of 2023. As a bit of a disclaimer, I'm only documenting the experiences of others and do not condone the harassment of Max Cruz or anybody else involved in this section of the video. A notorious cyberbully by the name Max Cruz 73, prominent for bullying kids on YouTube spell videos. Who is he? Why is he so obsessed with bullying kids? So way back when I was a child, I was big into the YouTube spell scene, and in the comments there was this user by the name Max Cruz 73. I was doing some sleuthing, and via this subreddit I seen another user possibly link their account to a creepy obsessed stalker. I'm not entirely sure what he does, but a basic rundown, he has a particular fascination with growing wings. He claims he is highly intelligent, and in my friends and his discussions, in his words, I have 9 years of education beyond high school covering 2 careers. Plus, I have a private pilot license in my wallet. He seems to take some enjoyment in bullying kids, often getting called out in videos like this by kids, who obviously, being kids, are going to just get bullied worse.
Hey everybody, Gravel Hero XD here, and I just want to say that, well, it's more of a question. I want to know if you guys have ever had someone ruin your dreams or ever crushed your imagination. Well, something like that is going on right now in a certain video, and I need your help to, me and my friends need your help to defeat this guy in a comment war. His name is Max Cruz 73. I'm going to give you a link in the description, and if you want, you can help us defeat this guy and help everyone get away from him. So if you help, that would be very, very great. I'd be very thankful. By the way, I will be commenting as another YouTuber. I'm not sure what I'm gonna name the channel. Probably just gonna name it my real name. But anyway, if you guys help, I would be grateful. So I think so would my other friends, Ayana Jackson, Ray Golden, Springtrap 101. We need to defeat Max Cruz 73. So yeah, please help us. Gravel Hero out. Peace.
He harasses kids with insults, claiming they're not intelligent, they're gullible and naive. He is ruthless and won't quit until the kids quit. A common phrase of his is facts and logic, which brings to mind certain well-known figures. Sure, the guy might be telling the kids the truth, but they're kids. This man has dedicated his life to essentially telling kids Santa isn't real, you know? It's not quite the moral crude he thinks it is. The man has gone on a nearly decade-long tirade against magic spells, and regardless of whether you believe in them or not, it's very clear who the audience of a grow wings overnight spell is. He takes no accountability for his actions, seeming to not care that the people he is replying to are children, and that his insults can really affect the children he is replying to. He claims he isn't bullying them because it's facts and logic, and blatantly ignores any argument of substance against him, clearly showing a habit of punching down kids because he knows he is unable to sustain an argument against someone who is actually intelligent enough to call him out on his actions. The strangest part is how long he's been at this. I'd place it at that he's been constantly commenting on these videos for the past 8 to 10 years. His response time is quick. Within 10 minutes, he's already replied to my response comments to him. I asked him to reach out for an interview of sorts, but I'm unable to reach out due to the YouTube comment filtering. I've never seen a man so hell-bent on harassing children in my life. He harassed me and my friends as kids, and even now that we're full-grown adults, he's still at it. I'm so curious if anyone can find out who he is, or why this man does what he does. And concerning the possible links to the prior threads, if that speculation is correct, it really is concerning that someone like that is interacting with young children online. My curiosity wants to finally unveil the cloak hidden over this childhood boogeyman of mine. Who even is this Max Cruz 73? And why is he so damn obsessed with bullying children on YouTube? That is the question lingering on my own mind, and the minds of my close friends too. This man is crazy. My first thoughts after reading this are that we clearly have a person with a lot of spare time, and this Redditor is correct in being concerned about Max. Endlessly harassing children online for around 8 years sounds insane. In the comments of the YouTube upload we watched earlier, we get our first look into the kind of comments Max leaves on these videos. I will not read all of them, because there will be hundreds if not thousands of comments, but here are some examples from the video that will be provided. Who is this? I can't understand. Some pilot who says humans can't get wings. I'm Max Cruz. I call out liars and present known facts and truths. Facts such as, growing wings is impossible. This does not sit well with non-thinking, low-intelligent children that have allowed themselves to be deceived by fake, dishonest wing-growing videos. Okay, I get the whole opinion thing, but the being rude and crushing kids' dreams things I don't understand. Why waste time insulting little kids instead of relaxing and being a pilot? You're famous because of your drama. You're seeking attention. Do you want to get insulted back by children that you insulted first? If so, something's wrong with you. Your brain ain't working, okay? You're allowed to say your opinion because you're a grown man, and you're old, but I don't think you can really go on YouTube crushing kids' dreams and insulting them. You're gonna get reported and probably banned. I do not state opinion. I state known facts and truths. Not my problem children like you get upset when facts and truths are presented. When children lie, they earn the title of lying child. When children resort to profanity, they earn the title of vulgar profane child. See how that works? Children are free to dream about growing wings every waking moment for the rest of their lives. Applies to every single person on the planet. Never said otherwise. The number of people that will actually grow wings will always be 0. There's nothing you can say or do that'll change that fact. Just this interaction alone gives us a look into the mind of Max. The comment section of this video is flooded with replies from him. And despite the video being uploaded over 7 years ago, we have replies from Max that are only about a year old. Aside from the video, the OP also provided a link to another Reddit post, uploaded by the user HeyI'mRichardsK, that possibly links Max to another YouTube account by the name of Lee Weston. In the post, Richard links to an older Reddit post, so we'll begin there. So I just found these weird YouTube comments, possibly written by a stalker, and I'm so confused. I don't know if this belongs here, but I was watching this interview with a metal singer, and then I scrolled down, and there's this guy called Lee Weston, who appears to be very obsessed with her. More than half of the comments under the video were written by him from 2 accounts, and basically he mentions a lot of spiritual stuff from the Bible, and aliens a lot. He also said a lot of creepy shit, like how Lena has ascended, how they are lookalikes, how he just knows for sure that she believes in aliens, etc. Note that Lena has never really showed any interest in stuff like this in her posts or videos, so this came out of nowhere. 2 comments under the video were written by Robert Dahlfeld, and they're just pure nonsense, but they have alien emojis in both of them, which kinda connects that to Lee again. He's an older guy and he has 2 videos dedicated to Lena, and a playlist called My Love, just full of videos of Lena and her band. For some reason this really creeps me out, and I'm not sure if these guys are mentally ill, or were just really drunk when they wrote these comments. I feel like Lee could be a stalker. The other guy seems to be a bit lonely and strange, but that might be okay. What do you guys think? Have you ever seen this happen in other comment sections too? In an effort to avoid a copyright strike, I will not be playing the YouTube video linked, but we will take a look into some of the comments left by Lee. Time holds no gravity. You will always be beautiful, Lena. I love the Orphan Soul music video. It reminds me of the house I grew up in. The music video visual reminds me of my childhood. I love Lena. She was born in 1986. I was born in 1981. We were both indigo children. I will always listen to you, Lena, but I am an empath. LOL. You have a temper. Some fans are nuts. What if Lena is a vampire? What if COVID-19 kills 90% of the world and Lena is the queen on top? What if I live by a large Air Force base in Oklahoma City and saw something metallic that came from Egypt over 2,000 years ago. Rasputin was a psi vamp. I'm psychic. EMF energies. Lena has nice teeth like Vlad. They were born in Eastern Europe. Lena is more than what she appears to be. I believe in Lena 101%. Both these Lee Weston accounts seem to be the same, except for the numbers at the end. And there are dozens of these comments, all in the same frantic and consistent manner as the ones left from the Max Cruz account. But for now, back to Richard's second and most recent post. More disturbing comments from an obsessed and probably mentally ill fan of vocalist Lena Scissorhands. I know no one remembers my old post about this, and this isn't the most interesting and deep mystery out there right now, but if you still decide to look into it, I'd be very grateful. Here's my old post about this for more context. The purpose of this little update is to tell you that a few months ago I thought Lee only had 2 accounts, but nope, last night I found a bunch of them, with pretty odd content. Also, this guy is all over Lena's music, interviews, and everything. You might think that there's nothing creepy about this, and just a huge fan, who's also a pretty odd guy, but last night I found the following comment. Lena will go home soon. So will I. COVID-19 cannot kill neither of us. Part of this world is going to die. The end is near. Lena knows her fate. I will always love you. Soon she will see the heavens. Immortality. Now some of you fellow metalheads have probably heard about Dimebag Darrell, the former guitarist of Pantera, and how deranged fans shot him at a concert. Christina Grimmie pretty much also died the same way. Due to COVID, obviously no concerts are being held, but when this whole thing will be over, I'm really going to worry about this girl. I might be overreacting, but we don't know what's going on in this person's mind and what he's planning to do. Here are some of the channels that belong to Lee. We already saw that Lee had multiple accounts and was possibly tied to Max Cruz as well, but this Redditor would provide many more. Some even had videos uploaded onto them. Due to Max Cruz's confrontational nature, I will not be playing them, but they will be linked in the description so that you can watch for yourself. To summarize his uploads, they feel like a fever dream. He's seen talking to a mannequin which he has dressed up, ranting about Vin Diesel, and even complaining that women do not like him because he's not skinny enough in the caption of a YouTube short. Now that I'm typing this, I just realized he has like 500 accounts with the same type of content, so I'm just gonna give up. If you look up Lee Weston and filter the results, you'll find so much more of this bullshit. Okay, I'm gonna stop here, because I underestimated how big this rabbit hole is. Almost every single Infected Rain song leads to new accounts. Thank you for reading all of this rambling, and once again, I might be overreacting to this whole situation, but please tell me your thoughts. That last statement was true. If you go to YouTube and type in Lee Weston and filter by channel, you will actually find hundreds of accounts. Whether or not these are all Lee, or random people who have been following the story online, is not quite clear, but a lot of them do have content uploaded that appears to have been made by the same person, further adding to the mystery as to who this individual could be. As for the Max Cruz profile, I had to do a bit of digging before I could find a link between Max and Lee. Now, I personally did not find one, but I did find a comment thread where one user appears to have potentially found a link, but theorizes that this could be an ARG attempt. I've just started going down the rabbit hole here and need to look further into this, but it could be an ARG attempt. In your original post from 2 months ago, there were 2 Lee Weston accounts posting on the interview video. Looking at one with no videos uploaded, there's a public comment left by the username Shotfire. The comment is simply testing, which led me to believe that he could be the mastermind of the accounts. Within Shotfire's public playlist, he has 2 dedicated to ARGs, so it's either another Redditor from here looking into this, or it could be the same person leaving all these weird comments. We'll update if I find anything else. This is interesting. My first thought about the topic was that this could be an ARG, because Infected Rain is not a very popular band, let's be honest. And why would anyone make an ARG under music videos, where almost no one reads past the top comments? But this made me feel suspicious. As I was reading your comment, I suddenly remembered that one of Lee's dolls was wearing an In This Moment shirt, which is the much more popular band, so I clicked on a random song from them, and I found Lee right away with his usual stuff, but it would be very hard to find any actual useful information there, because it's another female-fronted band with a very curvy and attractive singer, so she obviously gets a lot of creepy thirst comments. It would be very hard to separate them based on intention. The band has changed to a witchy spiritual vibe, so the unusual comments just blend in. These songs have way too many comments to look through. It would take ages. Just thought I would mention this. Anyways, I'm curious to see where this will lead us. I still doubt that this is an ARG, because no sane person would make this many accounts, and random videos, but I'll update too if I find something. I did find a few things. Looks like Reddit was having some issues, so I couldn't respond as soon as I had all this. Shotfire's profile led me to another, specifically someone going by MaxCrew73, a user who seems to have some notoriety on YouTube for leaving strange comments. However, it seems too far removed from what we are currently investigating, so I put a pin in it for now. I may have found a report from 10 years ago, pointing at a violent criminal charge pressed against Lee. This was from 10 years ago, and in Oklahoma City, which from what I could tell passing through his comments and videos, is where Lee is from. From the footage of him I went through on YouTube that had his face in it, the man in the article and Lee in the videos have similar facial features. You would have to give me your opinion on this one. You also have to forgive my ignorance about the specific music scene, but based on what you were saying and what I discovered, I'm leaning towards this not being an ARG, while I still think it might be a possibility. I can't argue that the more I look into this, the more I see possible mental health issues from Lee. He may even have a history of violence if the person in the article is indeed the Lee in question. After looking at the Lee Weston from the news article, I could see this being a younger version of the Lee Weston we see on YouTube, but we have no clear evidence to prove that. If this is the same Lee, then it's possible that since his arrest, his mental health has been deteriorating, as we can see from his videos uploaded on his various channels. Unfortunately, it seems as though nothing has been done about the consistent harassment of the children online, and while we don't have a definite link that connects all these accounts to one individual, the style in which these accounts talk and act online is very similar, and I personally wouldn't be surprised if they were all run by the same person. The time frame is what's most unsettling. Assuming that Max and Lee are the same person, that would mean that for upwards of 9 years, he's been consistently dedicating time and effort to bully and harass children online, and from what I've seen, it doesn't look like anything or anybody is going to stop him anytime soon. So I'm going to end this section here with a warning. If you ever scroll into the comments of a YouTube video, and you see a user with the name Max Cruz or Lee Weston, do not engage, because they can and likely will begin stalking and harassing you, and there's no telling when they'll stop or what lengths they'll go to. Do you think Max and Lee are the same person? I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. I originally saw this Reddit post a few months back while working on another deep dive, and passed on including it in the video at the time, but as it turns out, we recently got another update from OP, M8X8, so we now have a little more to go off of. The original post goes like this: "What is this orange chemical my neighbors are disposing of? This is taking place in the UK. I moved into a council property in 2017, and in 2019, the flat below me started to do a lot of noise at night, hammering and drilling in the middle of the night, like 2 to 4 a.m. I filed many noise pollution complaints with my local council, who were useless and didn't bother to do anything. The loud construction noises continued for a year and a half, together with loud droning sounds from vibrating pipes after I heard them make significant alterations to the water supply pipes, which they are not allowed to do because it's not a private property. The alterations they made were so chaotic and rogue that they cut my water supply on at least 2 occasions. When this happened, I called my local council and Thames Water, the water company responsible for my area. They both confirmed that there was no planned engineering work. They didn't bother to help me with my water supply being cut off or to investigate what was happening. Eventually, after dozens of antisocial behavior and noise pollution reports, the local council sent letters to these neighbors from hell. I do not know the content of the letters, but I'm guessing it says noise pollution was reported, and if they continued, they would get in trouble or something. Because of this, the man who was doing the DIY at night started to do unwanted visits to my front door at night, punching it repeatedly and threatening me and calling me names. I called the police several times, but they refused to come and help, despite telling them that this was harassment under the Harassment Act of 1997. I even had a police officer on the phone telling me that she had been in the force for 11 years and knew how to do her job, and that she would certainly not be dispatching a team for what she called a neighborly dispute. I consider what happened to me violent harassment and assault. This was not a dispute anymore. I did manage to take video footage of the man punching my front door, but that was ignored by the police. The harassment continued and put me through great suffering. Eventually, I asked 2 friends to call the police on my behalf, and that worked. The police went to speak once to the violent neighbor and told him that he would get in trouble if he was ever to come to my door again. The man was not arrested or charged, and I was not given his name despite asking. I wanted his name because I considered it civil legal action since the police wouldn't arrest or question him. A council local housing officer eventually visited that neighbor and then came to see me. He confirmed to me face to face that it was a case of illegal subletting, and the man was not the rightful tenant and refused to give ID or let him in. The visit from the local council housing officer must have spooked them, because I then witnessed the man throwing a single bed off the 3rd floor onto the street, and a couple moving into the property in the middle of the night with belongings, a double bed and mattress, etc. I think they were told that the council was going to investigate if they were illegally subletting the council flat, and had to urgently move back in to pretend and make it look like they lived there instead of the violent man. After all this, the noise became less of an issue, but I was still concerned about a strong chemical rotten egg smell coming from the flat below me for several years and leaking into my bedroom through the service pipe cupboard housing the pipes for the bathroom. Fast forward to the last couple of months, strange construction noises have resumed along with the strong chemical rotten smell. but it feels like they are using tools that are designed to be less noisy or have a silencer feature. I can hear faint drilling and a lot of moving things around, day and night. The neighbors from hell have also started to use large sheets of fabric to hide their front door and prevent other neighbors from seeing what they're doing, to make it look like they're drying clothes. But it's always large sheets that completely block the view of the front and the side of their front door. I also spotted the neighbor from hell that now lives there, spying on me, when I was outside my friendly neighbor's door recently, talking to her. The bad neighbor went downstairs and was hiding in the corner of a street in the distance, but I was suddenly able to spot her in the background and told my other neighbor. She kept looking at us and observing us while talking to someone on the phone. I think she knows we know something is going on, and she's worried. I think they did this because my neighbor alerted me about them dumping a liquid that has left a large amount of orange powdery residue. They poured it down the drains that are located in the corner of the communal path outside tenant stores. Those drains are supposed to be for rainwater during heavy rain or stormy weather. Whatever the chemical liquid they have been trying to get rid of is, it must have been something very thick because it has blocked their drain. I've attached videos for you to get an idea and hopefully help me figure this out. Notice the substance has turned a gray concrete orange. What could this be? I'm very worried because since I've moved into this property, I have developed a lung and heart immune condition, and I'm worried that the neighbors below me could have been poisoning me with whatever dodgy activity they're doing. Please help me. Included were these 2 clips of what appears to be the neighbor's patio area. One commenter by the name Brown Sherlock would also provide some very helpful information on what could possibly be going on. Ex-UK cop and detective of 2 decades, currently run a side hustle in local problem solving and corporate defense. A couple of things. 1, it's not meth. It's such a rarity here that there's no profit-making market to it. 2, orange dump after building works is normally washed down. They are cleaning down after some major construction work. 3, it definitely has the feel of something dodgy, but I wouldn't jump to a full conclusion yet with this little information. You have 2 options here. One is actually put some significant effort into a long-term solution. The other is complain to loads of people just once and get a FA done. Here's how I'd resolve it. Submit a DPA request to all the agencies you have complained to, asking for copies of your complaints and any written notes made internally. Write a handwritten diary of incidents with dates. Get all your DPA stuff and using those in the diary, create a document highlighting each incident and referencing any documents which support it. Again, a factual document, not a whinge. Contact the police and make a formal complaint, and state that you want to do a community trigger for a joint agency response. Every 2 weeks, make another complaint over lack of action. Escalate the complaint to the Department of Professional Standards. Escalate the complaint to the Independent Office of Police Conduct. And once the community trigger is up, you may need to complain to each agency independently. Document everything. You will always get a better response off these agencies if you present them with facts and concerns. Theorists and wingers get dismissed because they often get it wrong and won't be told otherwise. Following this and many other comments theorizing on what the neighbors could be doing, the OP would add a series of updates to the original post, and also some in the comments. Update 1. I sent the following message to my local fire brigade station. I am concerned about the fumes and strange colored liquid seen leaking out of flat I moved into a city council property in 2017, and I've been complaining about a mix of rotten egg and chemical solvent smells coming from flat below me ever since. Recently in mid-February, a neighbor who was on the same floor as me alerted me about flat dumping a liquid that has left a strange amount of orange powdery residue in a communal path. They poured it down the drains that are located in the corners of the walkways outside tenant doors. Those drains are supposed to be for rainwater during heavy rain or stormy weather. Whatever the chemical liquid they have been trying to get rid of is, it must have been very thick because it has blocked their drain. The substance has turned the gray concrete to an orange color. I am worried about my health and safety. Update 2. I called the water utility company and told them everything. I'm now on hold. Update 3. Despite telling them about the orange deposits after the strange liquid that blocked the sewage was gone, and that it most certainly did end up in the sewage system and would have ended up in a river, Thames Water won't take action on something that isn't currently still happening. I told them there are strange sewage solids / greasy substance all over the main sewage grid on the ground floor, but they were not interested. They advised me to contact the police. Update 4. I've just taken 2 pictures of the greasy deposit on the ground floor. It used to be whiter, but it has turned into a black and oily deposit, probably because of dirt. It never evaporates. It's definitely oil-based or something solid. Update 5. I have filed a report with Crime Stoppers. I tried to keep it short. My neighbors are dumping some chemical liquid, and it's clogging the storm drains and turning the concrete of the communal walking path orange. There have been numerous instances of a sudden unbearable rotten egg and chemical smell leaking into my flat from a service pipe cupboard in my bedroom, and the smell is coming from the flat below me. I'm worried about my health and safety, and that something dangerous and illegal is taking place. Update 6. I'm posting the video I took back in 2021 of the man who harassed me and abused me repeatedly. Anyone reasonable would agree that they'd also be scared if they were visited in the middle of the night, repeatedly by a stranger who threatened and abused them physically and verbally. In this update, the OP provided the video of the neighbor who had been harassing them, followed by a 7th update in the comments that included pictures of the neighbor's drain. Here we can see that the patio drain looks drastically different from the ones of the residents below. Admittedly, we have no images of what the drain looked like before, but the contrast now is as clear as day. The OP would eventually provide an 8th and final update under this post that unfortunately did not provide us with any resolution to the situation. Update 8. The fire brigade came today and said that there was very little they could do. They didn't detect any gas that could explode with their device, keeping in mind that they visited on a day when the rotten egg/chemical smell had dissipated for now. They told me to call 999 and wait outside if the chemical gas smell comes back. I also asked about the concrete turning orange, and they said there was nothing they could do about that. They could see there was a corrosion or chemical reaction that turned the concrete orange, but that it could be a number of different things. This is where the story originally ended, and with no more information to gather, is partially why I decided to pass on it the first time. But 4 months later, on July 1st of 2023, M8X8 came back with more info, confirming that the investigation as to what the neighbor is doing is still going on. I previously posted on here about some weird orange chemical a neighbor below me was disposing, and a persistent smell coming from a wall cupboard in my bedroom in the building where I live. The wall cupboard is connected to one neighbor below me and another next to me. The building's landlord was ordered by a judge to seal the wall cupboard and gaps to let nasty smells come through into my bedroom. Not because of the smells, but because of fire safety. The smells were always two different ones. Either a strong rotten egg/dead rotten meat sewage smell, or very strong caustic chemical smells, like if someone was trying to treat a septic tank or something horrendous with industrial strength chemicals. Very often, that smell has strong notes of petrol and artificial almond and cherry, to the point where it gives me nausea and makes me sick. The smells are not leaking into my bedroom anymore, but I am now pretty sure the sewage smells came from below, possibly the ground floor underneath the building. I'm still puzzled by the orange chemical, but I think I'll never find out what it was. But here's the thing, the almond/cherry petrol smell is now leaking at the front of my next door neighbor's flat, from his front door, and his bathroom and kitchen windows. All those years, that particular smell came from him. I was shocked he was able to hide it was him for so long. I confronted him yesterday about it and he proceeded to repeatedly lie to my face and pretend he doesn't smell anything. His front door was wide open and the smell was unbearable. 6+ years of this. My other neighbor who is on the other side of him does agree that for years he has tried to avoid talking to anyone in the building and has kept shut blinds on every window, and that it is clear that he is up to something. I spoke to the police who said they would run a background check on the address, and they used the expression ex-convict when mentioning the neighbor next door. I don't think they meant to reveal that information, and I think they let it slip inadvertently. I was exposed to that smell in my bedroom for many years, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. But even though they can smell it, the fire brigade or police don't care, as it is a smell, and not physical evidence. I would appreciate any expertise or suggestion, or if there are some people in London who have a superpower with their nose and can identify thousands of chemical smells, I'd be interested in getting their opinion. It can't be healthy to be constantly exposed to chemical fumes like this. What confused me is the fact that the OP is now stating that the chemical smells are actually coming from the neighbor next door. Fortunately, the comments would provide some theories. The cherry almond smell might be benzaldehyde. The rotten smell might point to drug production. I think the rotten smell was either chemical reactions from one neighbor disposing of suspicious chemicals for years, or genuine sewage issues, because the building owners didn't pay for the sewage pipes to be cleaned for a decade. What would someone in a one-bedroom flat do with benzaldehyde? Have you smelled a hair salon when permanent wave or straightener solutions are being used? My first thought with the rotten egg smell was an unlicensed cosmetology business. My mom did folks' hair in her kitchen, and walking in from school, I could tell she was giving a perm halfway up the driveway. The smell was so strong. There are also a lot of hobbies where you end up using weird-smelling chemicals. The stuff I put in my fish tank for algae is glutaraldehyde, a chemical used when embalming. The stuff I put on dead parts of my bonsai trees to protect the wood is this wickedly strong lye solution. The point is, they could be doing something as innocent as making acrylic paperweights or operating an illegal business, but nobody manufactures drugs in one location for that long. After reading all the OP's posts and updates, it's clear to see that the police and the apartment management are not taking this as seriously as the OP would like. but it is possible that the neighbors may just have some smelly, but not quite illegal hobbies. The strong chemical smells that comes from some hair products could definitely be the source of the rotten egg smell, but we don't have any evidence to either prove or debunk this theory. Thankfully, after a couple of days, we would get a common thread that seems to be pointing the OP in the right direction to get this all sorted out. The fire brigade or police don't care, as it is a smell and not physical evidence. I don't know how it works in the UK, but here in the US, in addition to our police and fire department, we have fire marshals. They are sworn law enforcement officers who have a fire department background. They conduct investigations into suspected cases of arson and often inspect businesses to ensure that they are complying with fire codes. I know of situations where drug labs were shut down because the fire marshal was able to get a warrant, not based on probable cause because illicit drugs were being made, but upon evidence that volatile chemicals were being illegally stored or used inside of a residence. There has to be someone with a similar role in the UK. I had a look, and it's called a fire warden. I did write to my local fire brigade, and they came to visit my property and could smell something and saw the orange stains from the chemical below me, but basically shrugged their shoulders and said if it's something illegal, then it's the police's responsibility. They all do that. Putting responsibility on another service and walking away. I think 10 years of austerity and conservative government dismantling the police and fire stations means they're understaffed, underpaid, and they simply don't care. Just look at what happened with the Grenfell Tower fire that burned people alive. Authorities had been warned for years but didn't care, resulting in people burning alive. It's here, where somebody from the fire brigade local to the OP replied informing the OP on how to properly report the situation to the right people. Who came out to your building when you contacted the fire service? I'm in the community safety in the brigade further north. We have safeguarding reports to fill in around topics like this. If your property is a rental property, then your landlord has a legal responsibility to keep your accommodation fire safe. London Fire Brigade has a section on your landlord's responsibilities on their websites. There's a report you can fill out on LFB's website. It's the business fire safety team you can contact. If you want me to link you to page and number to call them directly, I can DM you the appropriate resources if needed. I hope you get this sorted out, OP. I think I completed a general online contact form, and some members of the local fire brigade came to visit. I'm not aware of any safeguarding reports having been completed following the visit. I am interested in the link to report this to the business fire safety team you mentioned. Please DM me. Thanks. And at the time of this recording, this is the last update we got from the OP, but it does seem as though they might finally get in contact with the right people who can properly investigate and solve this issue. So until we get another update from them, this is where the story ends. We're just going to have to keep an eye out and see how the story develops. Our final post comes from a father on Reddit, concerned because of something he found outside of his daughter's window on August 4th of 2021. Can anyone help with the type of shoe print left outside my daughter's window? So I believe someone is trying to look into or break into my kids' windows at night. This morning we got up, and this little Tykes cozy coupe car was under my kid's window with a shoe print on it. I'm at a loss, and I'm really pretty scared. I have called the police and put up a camera both outside and inside. The window was open, and since the window leads to the closet in between bedrooms, there was a toy shelf in front of the window, which was pushed out and away from the window and the wall. I have suspicions that it's our neighbor who has always given us a bad vibe. We have a fenced-in yard and he watches our kids over the fence, told the 4 and 5-year-old girls that he loves them right in front of them, and then asked if he could babysit in the same sentence. He always talks about how beautiful and adorable they are. I know the print is hard to see, and tried to put multiple pics in hopes one was okay. I really appreciate any info or advice here. I'm truly scared. The kids will not be sleeping in their rooms until this is resolved. This is one of those it'll never happen to me situations, and I'm lost. The OP also provided the Imgur link with a series of pictures where we can clearly see the imprint of a boot on the roof of the car. The commenters under this post immediately expressed concern for the OP's children. OP, this might go without saying, but I feel like it would be worth having a very clear conversation with your kids about this man and never going with him. If he's at the point of breaking into a window while y'all are home, he's probably on the look for an opportunistic situation in which the kids aren't by your side. He might try to bait them onto his property or vehicle, and I worried they would trust him, as he is a neighbor and a familiar face, and someone you've been semi-cordial with. You're absolutely right. Of course we have had talks about strangers and never going with them, and have our passwords but have never spoken about a specific person. That's a wonderful idea, and I will be doing this in the morning over breakfast. Thank you for your time. Many commenters also gave the OP advice on what to do next, and sometime later, we would get an update on the original post. Edit. If you have any questions, please ask. I am at work, but we'll answer ASAP. Again, thank you so much. Small update. I wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who commented with advice and ideas about what kind of shoes/boots may have cost this print. I feel a bit calmer knowing that I am doing the right things by adding more cameras. window alarms, and motion lights to that area. I feel awful that I inadvertently left that window unlocked and jeopardized my kid's safety. My excuse is that it's in a closet and never used, but that means nothing, and it should have been locked. I have taken a lot of the advice here and will also set up some noise-making traps, so if someone does get in, at least my dogs will hear it and bark to wake me up. The kids will continue to have a slumber party with me until this is resolved. Last night was fun with snacks and movies, but I wouldn't expect it to be fun for too long. Several people advised getting a firearm. Given my negative history with guns, I unfortunately would not be doing that yet. I'm not ready for that, but do have pepper spray and I've always done some kickboxing as a hobby. I am not disillusioned to the fact that whoever is doing this may be stronger and faster than me. I have spoken with my kids about our plan on what to do in the event someone gets into the house, and feel pretty confident that they will act and not freeze. We have role-played it over and over. I hope it's the right thing to do and will help them. They all feel safe with me, although my confidence in keeping them safe has taken a huge hit. There were a few very compassionate and kind commenters who helped me very much with that, and made me feel like I will be able to fight this and keep my kids safe. Last night the camera only caught a spider and a squirrel, so nothing yet. I will absolutely update if anything big happens. I tried to reply to every comment, but definitely missed a few. I can't thank you all enough for your ideas and advice, and especially the time you took out of your day to comment and help a total stranger. Here it seems as though the OP was preparing to catch the person who was snooping around their property. The only thing left to do was wait for the person to show up again, and in late January of 2022, the OP would come back with some very unsettling discoveries. I'm back with an update. I apologize it took so long. I want to thank everyone again for being so helpful and kind on my last post. So I put a camera on the side of the house my daughter's windows are on. It didn't take long for me to catch my neighbor opening my gate on that side of the fence and coming into my yard. I got him several times on video. It's so weird, you guys. In a few of them, it looks like he's looking for something in my yard. And in one, he seriously waved at my kids through their window. It was like 1 a.m. too. I obviously called the police. And the officer that came was so helpful and nice. When he saw the video of my neighbor waving at the kids, you could see he got very upset, and he was absolutely appalled. I really felt like he wouldn't blow off my concerns and was nervous about calling. The officer went over to the neighbors and spoke with him. Apparently, the neighbor was super apologetic and said he was looking for golf balls. In my yard, he had no excuse for waving at my kids. Unfortunately, or fortunately I guess, he did not get arrested because he never tried to get into the window. He just came in the yard through the gate and walked around and looked and waved through the windows. The officer did not at that point tell the neighbor that he was caught on camera. He just trespassed him and told him to stay away and never open my gate or go into our yard again. About a week later, I get a notification at about 2 a.m. saying motion was detected. He was in my backyard. I called the police again and the same officer came out and arrested the neighbor for trespassing. I still don't know what the neighbor's intent was. The police don't really know either. The neighbor does have a record of domestic violence and such from 16 years ago, but nothing more recent. Since the arrest, the neighbor now knows I have a camera there and hasn't been back. It was so scary, but everyone is safe. Until I can move, my guard will be up and so will my camera. The kids do feel safer, and we put some cute window film that allows us to see out the windows, but nobody can see in, even at night. I also installed some window alarms, so if any windows are opened, an ear-piercing alarm goes off. They tested it and are confident it'll wake us up. So for now we're okay and safe, but we'll always be watching and being a bit more cautious with the neighbor. It's winter, so we haven't crossed paths with him, but when spring comes, I'm a bit nervous about having the kids play in the yard and him talking over the fence. I'm putting up another camera that faces towards his house so I can watch the fence. And if he's watching or trying to interact with the kids while they play in the yard, I have proof and can call the police again. Thank you all again for the advice and well wishes in my last post. You definitely helped me feel validated in my concerns and not crazy. Without you, I may have thought I was an overprotective crazy person and pushed my gut feeling aside, so for that I owe you. Hope you are all doing well and staying safe. And that's the end. It's impossible to say what the neighbor was doing, but to me, it seems as if they were attempting to get familiar with the OP's children, possibly trying to gain their trust and get closer to them. But due to the fact that technically the neighbor has not done anything other than trespass onto the OP's property, it's not likely he'll get charged with anything else. And now that it's been about 1.5 years since the Redditor posted about the situation, we can hopefully assume that the interactions with the police taught the creepy neighbor to stay away from the OP and their children. I'd like to give a special thanks to the community members who help support this channel. And if you'd also like to support, you can become a member by clicking the link in the pinned comment, or by simply subscribing and leaving a like. That's all for this episode. Let me know your theories down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.